lonely. Tell me why. Oh shit. Okay. I can't be there where you are, where you are. It's something just in my heart. So yeah, apparently the kids is protesting. They're taking over some other campus. Let me see if I can get a broadcast. I don't know if there's any kind of scanner audio. They're taking over. We're back. California, gotta love it. All right, well, yes, the strategy is to let them conquer the school, let them take over several buildings, let them make a safety zone. And then in about a week or so, we'll politely ask him to leave. Would it be this Orange County? I don't know. Let me see. Let's try this. I don't know if this would be. I don't think this is it. Let me see. Where's the shit at? This is called UC Irvine campus building. Oh, hey. I thought I heard something here. You want me to open it for you? No, I don't want it. You want it? I can open it for you if you want it. Oh, do you want the chips? Want me to open it for you? Give me. Here. All right. Tell me why I can't be there where you are. Wait, do we have audio? We do have audio, okay. Nothing on this scanner audio. I don't think it would be on here anyway. Oh, Orange County, Santa Clara. Well, let's find out first where this place is at. UC Irvine. University of California, Irvine. Well, this guy, I guess, is Irvine. You know, let me see if I can find some other feeds as well, too. Heather, you in the chat? I don't see you yet. By the way, did I have notifications? They were there 2 weeks ago, huh? It's the only live feed. We're taking over. So, Buller, I have not watched Baby Reindeer, right? I'm waiting. I kind of wanted to wait for the couch to come in. The couch comes tomorrow. And there's this TV set. Oh, look, they're getting rowdy. There's this TV set that needs to get set up, too. I don't know if I really need to have to wait to the TV set. I could just put the TV on the floor, but I want to have the whole couch set up in the living room, like a nice setup, and then watch Baby Reindeer. But I did at Orange County. Thinking about this, I asked my sister about it, and she was telling me like it's not what she thought it was. She just said it was like really, really, really dark and shit. Orange County Dispatch. So maybe this is what it is. I don't hear nothing with this. No audio there. Guy waving out. Oh, there's somebody waving around the American flag. He's getting run off. Get him! How dare you! Kill him! You're on chat. I see nothing. Hold on. KTLA and ABC arriving there. Oh snap! It was gonna be one of those nights. Is it gonna be? Listen, if you can let me know when you get there. There you go, Heather. I don't know why I had a hard time seeing you. Okay. So ABC KTLA is on the way. She just told me. Orange County. That's all the fees for Orange County. Okay. So let me try the Highway Patrol for Orange County. See if they got anything going. There we go. Let's see if there's anything there. I see a bunch of people listening to this other one, but there's nothing playing. Messenger. Genocide! Oh, they removed one of my videos. Why? My standoff videos. Facebook did. Oh, they're trying to do copyright? Who copyrighted this? This is weird. I'm gonna have to deal with this later. I wonder who did that. Alright, cops coming in. Wow. All those cops.
Upwards 73 unconscious patient. 14021 Florida Street. Respond on phone Mike 1538.
Lots of cops out there.
Mark 173, just dispatch cancel. Engine 73, you can cancel. Mark Battalion 3, truck 28, engine 28, traffic collision with fire, Jamboree Road, cross of Michelson Drive. Respond on site Delta 1540.
Let's see.
Once again, thank you for joining us on the web. This is Gil Lavis up in Sky 5 along with my pilot, Jim Pollard. We are over the campus of UC Irvine where a pro-Palestinian demonstration and encampment has been set up here in the middle of the campus itself. As I zoom out here, this is near the physical science lecture halls where that encampment is. As I tilt down, you see a large response by law enforcement from all over Orange County here, including the California Highway Patrol, the Orange County Sheriff's Department, and other municipal police departments sending in. Once again, thank you for joining us on the web. This is Gil Davis up in Sky 5 along with many others.
Clapping their hands. An email. So weird.
Northbound 405 on Studebaker.
Oof.
Any money, any donation to Israel to stop it, and they want the universities to be a little bit more transparent as to where any monies that go to Israel are going to. And just a short time ago, as you were saying, Mike, as you were reporting, something changed, right? This went from just an encampment of protests where students were allowed to stay on campus to is it on social media, Mike, where they're saying that this is now a violent protest?
Yeah, it's actually on the university's website. They've got an emergency alert listed here, and they are saying violent protest confirmed at or near the physical science lecture hall, which is where we've been looking at. And this is, again, the large contingency. And here is, thanks, Cal, for pulling this up, but here is the alert from UC Irvine that's saying protest has escalated near the physical science quad. Avoid the area. If you are in the area, shelter in place for your safety. And as we've been seeing from SkyCal, that is not what anybody has been doing. Yeah. There are tons and tons of people that have really gathered around this one, more so than any protesters I've seen. It appears there are more people looking at what's going on than actual protesters that we've seen. And again, we can't see inside that lecture hall. We don't know how many people, if any, are in there. But you see the Orange County Sheriff's Department really starting to mobilize here.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right there, Mike. And on the right side of your screen, I believe, is this a live camera right now?
Yeah, it looks like we did dispatch our Michelle Geely down there. I don't know if this is her or a second photographer, but yeah, right up there against the police line. That's Irvine Police right there in the front. And like we were talking about, tons of mutual aid from Orange County.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, this happening on UC Irvine. We now have a ground crew on the scene right there. You can see the officers with their batons, the sheriff's department just behind them there. It looks like they may be preparing to go inside that lecture hall and break up what's going on inside. We still have no idea what's going on in there, but as you were saying, Mike, it looks like all the tents here are right around that lecture hall. They've started blocking the stairways up. You can see a lot of Palestinian flags there as well. And if we just, let's stay quiet for a second, maybe we can hear the camera that is there down on the ground. Oh, we don't have any sound from that. All right, well, you can see the protesters there with the Palestinian flag. They're making their voices heard. Obviously very upset over what's going on in Gaza as the conflict there continues now between Israel and Gaza as they try to oust Hamas from the area there. Mike was showing this shot just a little while ago, those students arm in arm there, just creating a human wall so that the law enforcement can get through, the umbrellas that we've seen at many of these protests as well. You know, Mike, what I'm curious about is, you know, who's in charge here? Who are these? What's the student leader? I mean, what changed all of a sudden, right?
Well, right, and you know, one, just really quickly, there was, you know, they put out the people that are, you know, the students that are running the protest here. They did put out a kind of press release, if you will, today, talking about how today was important to them because there was a UC Regents board meeting in Merced. Okay. And they, you know, wanted that opportunity for the Regents to talk about what's going on, and that is kind of what led to all of this. Now, whether or not they were unhappy about what happened at the Regents meeting or what exactly prompted them to, take what action they did today is what we're still, trying to exactly work out. But this was I'm looking at a note from the 13th that the chancellor put out, just kind of talking about what they are doing. And according to the university on the 13th, it said the students that are in the encampment have said they will not rejoin the conversation with the university until we end the normal administrative enforcement of university policies, which the university says, hey, look, we can't just throw out all the rules here. That's not how this works. You guys need to come to the table and talk. And according to the university, the students said that they won't happen. Letters of suspension were sent out on May 8th for people that are involved in this. And the encampment has been here since April 29th.
And we know change is slow when it comes to the university systems. As you were saying, Mike, things just don't happen overnight. Demands aren't necessarily met right away. So this is a situation here that's been brewing over the last few weeks. And while USC calmed down and UCLA has calmed down, tonight the focus is on UC Irvine there, as you see a large presence of protesters as well as members of the Orange County Sheriff's Department, Irvine Police, all basically trying to figure out, I don't know if they have a student leader there that may be speaking with law enforcement to see if they can come up with an agreement here. But it seems like this lecture hall right now is the focus of all this. You can see the barricade that's up there by the stairwell. You can see the coolers and bags and all sorts of things that have been put in place there to prevent people from going up those stairs. And again, we don't know what's going on inside that lecture hall right now. What we do know is that just look at the amount of students there in our ground camera there, just who have gathered there to witness what's going on. You were saying, Mike, the university put out an alert saying, hey, stay away from here. This is a violent protest for your own safety. Stay away. But I mean, right now from the crowd, it looks like the crowd is very peaceful. They're just kind of observing what's going on, right?
And if we can, in the booth, if we can take my computer, I have some pictures of what the lecture hall looks like on the inside, and I just kind of want to show people what kind of building we're talking about here. And you can see it is a typical college lecture hall. It is pretty big, but it also is a lot of room for people to be in. There's of course the technology that I'm sure people are concerned about, but these are some of the pictures that are on the UC Irvine website that just show what the inside of that lecture hall looks like. So I just kind of wanted to show people that picture. As you see now, Juan, a really large law enforcement contingency right here on the left side of the screen. And as we talked about, more people on the outside are watching this than we've seen actual even protesters. So I just am curious how many people are actually inside of the lecture hall and are not out here.
Yeah, and we're going to be checking the social media to see if anybody posts either videos or pictures of what's exactly going on inside that lecture hall at UC Irvine. You see a lot of students there milling around. They're on their cell phones. Others there, you can clearly see they are protesters there, pro-Palestinian protesters out there. And again, quite a large group that continues growing at this hour, and so much law enforcement now descending on UC Irvine, which they're basically pulling these officers out of the community, patrolling the community, just to kind of watch this basically standoff between law enforcement and protesters, when it's basically the university that is what they want to talk to and make changes. So it's just one of these situations where it's very tense. It's very frustrating for people who just want to go about their day there at the university and just go to school and whatnot. And you can see here this protest that had been allowed to, this encampment that has been allowed to just stay in the area here, has now continued to grow. We have SkyCal on the left side of your screen there. On the right side, we've got our ground camera going through the crowd there. As you can see, just the focus on that lecture hall right there at UC Irvine. Somebody there on the bullhorn chanting to the crowds there. And again, what do they want? They want these universities to stop any donations to any organization or company that would be focused in Israel. They want all that money to be stopped because they're obviously against what's going on right now in the Israel-Hamas conflict. And we're seeing, different members of the community here, students of all ethnicities here, coming together to protest what's going on. And Mike, would we know at all whether or not law enforcement is planning anything, or would they tell us?
Well, we've been in contact with a couple of them, and UCPD is the primary agency. They're the lead agency in this. It's their campus. Unlike some of the other campuses, like for example USC, the UC law enforcement, they are full-fledged sworn law enforcement officers. They have a badge, they have peace powers, they have all of that. So because of that, they are the primary agency that is calling the shots here, but they have requested the mutual aid. So I've already talked to CHP, I've already talked to Irvine Police Department, and all they would be able to disclose to us is that they were requested by the university PD system and went, and that's what they did. And apparently, it sounds like they may have had some kind of heads up on this, heads up that they may be needed in this way, and they were kind of ready for all of that. As we kind of look in here at the square where these guys have been essentially living for the last several days, since April 29th is apparently when that encampment began. Not as, kind of large as some of the other ones that we have seen as you look at the Orange County Sheriff's helicopter fly through the shot there, but definitely enough to, create some chaos here on campus today. And again, exactly what, what pushed them to do what they've done today, or was it the UC Regents meeting that didn't go the way they wanted it to? All of that is still kind of unclear right now. And of course, we are on the outside, as you see those students right there, kind of looking at everything, now starting to stand. And it looks like if these are people that are starting to protest, they are definitely a bigger number than has been there. It looked like, before there was a lot more kind of students that were around that area, less protesters, but again, a large contingency of law enforcement officers, more on the standby there. So you would think that at some point somebody that gets paid a lot of money is making a decision on how they want to do this and how they want to go in, and if they want to try to talk to these guys before they go in and get them to come out. Although the university said on the 13th, a couple days ago, that the group was no longer willing to talk to them unless the university essentially threw out the rules, which the university says that of course they're not going to do that. Now, on the other side of that, if you ask the protesters, they of course are going to say that the university is unwilling to do what they want, unwilling to meet their demands, and they don't think that they should be punished for their freedom of expression. But as we have talked about over and over again, freedom of expression stops at a certain point. Your First Amendment rights don't carry through unilaterally. There are limits to it, and it looks like we may kind of be approaching that limit with this today.
And clearly, Mike, just in the 20 or so minutes that we've been on the air here, we have definitely seen that crowd of student protesters swell, and our ground camera definitely giving us a great vantage point as to what's going on there. There are people there right here with drums. There's the tents behind this young man there on the UC Irvine campus. And the campus letting people know, please stay away from this area. They're calling this a violent protest, yet we haven't seen any evidence of any violence happening here. But then again, we don't know exactly what's going on inside that lecture hall, whether or not they've had a chance to see what's going on there. And it seems like most of the protesters are outside. Once inside the lecture hall, they would be away from our cameras, right, Mike? So
right, 100%. And there was a portion of this. Again, they put out the first alert at 2:53 p.m., which is roughly around the same time where we started hearing of things, maybe a little bit before that. Yeah. So what we don't know is, was there a violent aspect of this that kicked this all off? There was, social media is all over the place, but there was some kind of chatter about law enforcement had tried to kind of slightly move in to stop them from going inside, and that didn't really work out. So I don't know if that's what the university is considering.
Man, oh man. Back here we are. The protest. I think it was the campus that dubbed it violent protest. I haven't seen it so far get violent. At one point, I think they chased somebody off that had an American flag. There was one guy standing by himself, and it looked like they ran his ass off. Hopefully that guy's okay. I don't know how long they've had this encampment, quote unquote. Run. Oh, there's a guy over here. What's up with him? He's laughing.
At least from our vantage point, that there's been dialogue between protesters and law enforcement, but you know, again, there's so many different facets of this. They could be on the phone with somebody. It's kind of hard to tell. As you see our Michelle Geely there getting on scene now as well.
Yeah, we see her right there. Right there. You see her right in the middle of our shot here. She'll be able to speak to students and protesters here. And you were mentioning that time of 2:53, so we're now 1 hour in, so you can see how quickly the word can spread. These students also using social media to alert each other as to what's happening there on campus. And these all look like students, right? Yeah. The issue with UCLA and USC was whether outside protesters were coming in to mix in with these protesters. Right now, it just looks like, for the most part, it does look like these are UC Irvine students.
Yeah, at least from the exterior of the encampment. We don't know, if people have mixed in with the protesters on the inside there, but at least from the exterior. I would be remiss if I didn't point out how fast law enforcement got here compared to what we saw at UCLA. At UCLA, we saw violence for hours before we saw law enforcement get there. In this situation, if UC Irvine's calling it a violent protest at 2:53, less than an hour later, wow, look at that one. There are tons of people in the windows and on the balconies looking down at exactly what's going on. So, this is going to be challenging for law enforcement. They've got so many people that really are not connected to this at all that are now in the mix of this.
Yeah, and you also have to wonder, sundown will be happening in a few hours or so. If they can't wrap this up, the evening hours always feel a lot more tense, a lot more just worrisome for protesters and for law enforcement alike. It's difficult to see things in the darkness there, and you can see just the amount of people who are here on scene. And when we get to KCAL News at 4 o'clock coming up in just a few minutes or so, we'll hopefully have a chance to speak to our Michelle Geely, who's down there on the ground. And we're going to keep hearing the same stories we've heard with all these protests. These students want the university to become very clear, to let them know where any monies that may be going to Israel, if they're coming from the university, they want it stopped. I was watching one of these protesters as well say that they want police off campus, which obviously that's not going to be the case, which what's happening there. And we're continuing to see Michelle make her way through the crowd there, just making it past those Orange County Sheriff's deputies. So a lot going on here, and we're going to continue monitoring this. If you're watching this on the stream, please turn to Channel 9, KCAL News at 4 o'clock, starting up just a few moments here. And we begin with breaking news here at 4. Police have been called in as a protest on the campus of UC Irvine has gotten out of hand.
SkyCal is over the scene now, and assignment editor Mike Rogers has the latest from the desk. Mike.
Yeah, Juan and Amy, we've been watching the situation for at least the last 40 minutes or so. 2:53 this afternoon, UC Irvine said this was a violent protest. What you're looking at here, the live pictures from SkyCal, as at the Physical Sciences quad, and what we believe inside the Physical Science lecture hall, as SkyCal zooms in there, is potentially a group of protesters that has made their way in. You see a group of them standing out here, helmets, gas masks, they've got umbrellas down there, which is common during these types of protests. And look right there, they have barricaded the stairwell up into that Physical Science lecture hall. You see a table, there's trash cans, a cooler, all kinds of different things, even a rope trying to hold it all together. And then you look up even further and you've got people, we've seen them standing there for a while now on the balcony. Now, again, UC Irvine calling this a violent protest. Since we have been here, we have not seen violence on the campus. It doesn't mean that something didn't happen prior to our arrival, but since we have been here, we have not seen violence.
I guess they've maybe taken over that one building. That kind of reminded me of what happened in New York. They took over like a building or something, and they had to go in. I think the cops went through the window, and they brought all these. It's pretty interesting, but they got them out pretty quick. In New York, I know Cali likes to let things stagnate and, wither and foil up and just let it all, people will just gather up and create a whole ecosystem, whatever, growing plants and shit inside this bitch, surviving off of trash and whatever. I wonder if they had a list of demands besides just stop funding. Pretty interesting.
Dispersal orders, things like that. Guys?
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be in for a long night here on the campus of UC Irvine. Mike, thank you. And despite what you're seeing right here from SkyCal, protesters have been camped out for weeks now on UCI's campus.
Yeah, they've been negotiating their demands with university officials. KCAL News reporter Michelle Geely is live on the ground with the details on the tense situation. Michelle.
That's right. It was about 1:30 this afternoon when the news media was told to come to this encampment site here on the UC Irvine campus. This was the UCI Divest Coalition that was having an event. They called it a powerful gathering, and they were asking for students and community members to unite here on campus. They said the focal point of this event at 1:30 was to ask or demand that the university drop student suspensions related to the encampment. There was news several days ago that some of the students involved would be suspended, and also to divest from anything associated with Israel. Now, then about an hour later, and we were on another story in a different part of the county, I received a text from a different law enforcement agency indicating that there was now a multi-agency call out. And as we were driving on the 405 freeway, we were passed by dozens of law enforcement vehicles, lights and sirens, flashing, and they were speeding ahead to get to the campus. And here we are now. You can see the Orange County Sheriff's Department is here, Irvine Police. We've seen Los Alamitos, La Palma, Brea, Tustin. There are dozens and dozens of agencies here and officers. There are also hundreds of students here. Presumably these are UCI students who've gotten out of class or are making their way through campus. They've got their phones out, they're recording all of this. And just beyond where those deputies are is where the encampment is. And we made our way up there, but there's a blockade of students around the encampment, so we really couldn't get our way through. Now, I did just talk on the phone to one of the university spokespersons, and he said that he could not confirm whether any of the buildings here on campus have been occupied by the protesters. So we haven't been able to confirm that. And frankly, it's difficult to see because as you look up in the stairwells and up into the windows, you see all kinds of students. So it's unclear whether those kids, students have been in class and have come out to check this out, or they're on their way to class.
Yeah,
there's just so much commotion around here that we haven't been able to sort it out yet. But it is peaceful, I'll tell you that. There are people waving flags, people with bullhorns.
Well, it's interesting, yeah. So the official campus Twitter that leads to the official campus website had made a post, and it says here that at 2:53 their time, May 15, violent protests confirmed near Physical Science Lecture Hall, which on this little map here, their virtual map, they're saying this area. I wonder if that's the same area that's locked off, that they kind of blocked off the staircase. I'd have to find out. It's a huge freaking campus. God damn! It's huge. Like make a little takeover, make a military base, I guess. The other thing too, they also said protest has escalated near the Physical Silence Quad. Avoid the area. Shelter in place. I wonder if that's that like huge building with the people who are staring out. If I can find it.
But driver said that you need to put your knife away, and I thought, okay, that's kind of weird. So he got on the bus.
Metro says it's unclear from the video whether the man got on the bus and says in a statement, our customer code of conduct prohibits weapons on Metro vehicles or in Metro facilities. A person who violates our code of conduct can be subject to fines and other penalties.
Clearly there is a spike. Clearly we will aggressively address that.
LA Mayor Karen Bass, who's the chair of Metro's board, says she plans to introduce a motion to address the recent spike in violent incidents, some of which deadly.
Calling for an increase.
Yeah. Meanwhile, So far I haven't seen violence, but it looks like they have sectioned off a building, kind of taken over it, which that might be considered violent, or even just the stuff at the property that's being done. I think the campus is probably just fed up. But I think this is great too. Like, I don't care if they want to do this at the campuses, do it. Fuck it. These are products of the college campuses. You know, they say reap what you sow. These are literally these are the literal parents of these kids. Is the college campuses. Now you have to eat it. Oh, Kelly sent me an interesting one. Okay. You created this.
Interpreter for Dodger Star show.
So this could go on. Who knows how long this could go on? The last time we watched a protest, I mean, it went on for a very, very long time. Hours and hours and hours. I think at one point I even got off and I got back on like an hour or two later. Oh, there's a guy with the American flag. He's back. It was a good place to check too. Let me check this other website. Tally.
Wait, so where's the king?
Wait, is the gator heavy? Can I bring the gator by holding it?
Bro, that gun, fuck you.
Can I bring the gator holding him in my hands?
Okay. What's going on? No search results. Protests. All right. Well, let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Gator. Yeah, this is probably going to be. See what building is that? Susan and Henry Samuel. Ah. Uh-huh. Oh, so that's all the way over here. Susan and Henry. This is the part of the campus they're by. Looks like this. This is that building. Yeah, there's a parking lot next to it. I think. Yep, just a little past it. Oh, they ended it. Oh! Protest, protest. Where you gonna go? Maybe that's it for now, I guess. Yo, I'm so looking forward to the debate. The Biden debate. Biden and Trump. What? He accepted. I'm waiting for protesters to run up on camera and yell, "Hey, Mom." Biden administration is moving ahead with a new $1 billion arms sale to Israel. Really? I thought Biden said he's going to stop. Or he threatened to stop or whatever. Oh. I think it's going to be in June and then September. That's going to be huge. If we're able to watch it here, we can watch it here. If not, on Discord. Damn. This guy, Bill Meloag, says that the Orange County DA doesn't mess around. If any of these protesters get arrested, they aren't going to get the LA treatment. Oh, so it's different over here. Orange County. Okay. All right. We ain't playing that bullshit. Fox 11 is back up. I was just watching it, and it turned off, but let me see. You're saying it back up? Oh, maybe you're right. They're back up. No, it's over. You sent me the link for the stream that's over. It's over. I'll double check, though. Up. Yeah, it's over. It's over. No, that's it right now. I honestly feel like the choppers will probably come back later. Maybe Fox had to go refuel. Especially if it gets tense and they're like, if they put dispersal orders, because that's what happened last time. They issued a dispersal, but the protesters didn't listen, didn't care. And then hours later, shit went down. So much I gotta get tighten up because so many stories and things going on around the world. We're here stuck covering Karen Reid. Well, tomorrow's gonna be really good though. I think excited for that. But alleged porch pirate takes package in front of homeowner. Hey, Brave.
What?
Police in Pennsylvania say a brazen porch pirate wasn't put off by the presence of the homeowner when he...
They're probably in on it together. What's this shit?
What?
Hell no.
Police in...
He was probably shocked. He couldn't believe, like, what's this guy up to?
Pennsylvania say a brazen porch pirate wasn't put off by the presence of the homeowner when he went to poach this package.
What?
Doorbell cam caught the odd incident. The Cheltenham Township Police
And I know he's telling this guy, but what is this guy gonna do? Run after him?
Department says it happened around 3 in the afternoon. The package from AT&T contained 6 iPhones and was left on the homeowner's porch. Just as he went to retrieve it, they say a man came up the walkway, snatched it, and took off, leaving the homeowner stunned.
What?
Another delivery driver also seems confused as he delivers another package to the homeowner while he's following the suspect. Cops are now looking for this man, who they say was driving a tan-colored vehicle. He's described as having a medium build and is possibly between the ages of 35 and 40.
I wonder if somebody tipped him off. Special links. You'll be able to stay alive. All right, we might have a feed. Feels like it's hot in this house. Okay. I think we have a feed. Y'all left me, and I thought y'all loved me. It was like 200 people. I guess that's it. Let me refresh it. Sometimes they have signal issues. I'm not going home. No. Get him. Get him. ATLA. Oh, here it is. Oh, make sure you watch it anyway. All right, give me 1 second.
Okay. Of course.
Hell, it's done. Oh shit. Oh, it's not done? It's done or it's not done? Like Twilight Zone, just watching everything on repeat. Twilight Zone. Don't stop, keep it hot. There's some don't stop. Oh. Residual, huh? Oh man, it's kind of dead now. Anyway, I think if they come back later with some stuff popping off, we'll see. I think they're gonna have to issue those orders first. I mean, they got a lot of cops out there. They're gonna have to issue those orders, dispersal orders. And this camp is not as sophisticated as the other one. The other one, they had a whole town, like of tents and stuff, and then they had like a barricade around the tents and the stairs barricaded off, and in front of that, then they had a human shield of people in front of that. They had multiple layers. That shit came crashing down. I mean, we were up to like 6, 7 in the morning that day. Solar flare interference, maybe. All these people kept seeing the beautiful auroras, or whatever they call it. I stepped out multiple times. I didn't see shit. The sky just looked regular. Like, oh, it's so beautiful. I didn't get that. I guess my location. By the way, the Slovakia. Prime Minister of Slovakia was shot multiple times in an assassination attempt following a government meeting in Handlova just weeks before EU Parliament elections. Now, kind of interesting because he was just talking shit about, I don't know if this is a new or old clip. He was just talking shit about the vaccines. Let me see. As of now, the 71-year-old male has been detained. So they caught, I don't know if there's anything to do with anything. I don't know when this video's from either. He was talking shit about the vaccines, but I actually don't know when the time frame of this is.
Očkovanie proti covidu bol nebezpečný pre spoločnosť. Média otvorene písali, veď si to pamätáte, ja teraz citujem, že každý nezaočkovaný by mal kvíriť od bolesti ako prasa. Ba treba aj použiť silu, ak niekto odmieta politiku ihly. A dnes sa ukazuje, že náš slobodný pohľad na očkovanie a opatrenia vlády v boji proti covidu, hrubo porušujúce ľudské práva, bol správny a opodstatnený. Jedna štúdia za druhou potvrdzujú škandalózne dôsledky masívneho očkovania nepreskúšanými experimentálnymi vakcínami. Áno, potvrdzujem, ako predseda strany a potvrdzujem to aj ako predseda vlády.
Okay, anyway, yeah, he was talking shit. Capitol Police, let's see here. Everything has ads. What happened to all the Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Capitol Police trying to crack a case after cocaine found at headquarters in heavily trafficked area. Again, more coke found? What? Hold on, let me fix this. Let's fix this pen. Okay. Oh my god. Okay, so first the White House, now Congress, or close to Congress. Anyway, Capitol Police said Wednesday that the agency was investigating a small bag that tested positive for coke wound up in its headquarters, located about a 10-minute walk from the White House and the Senate. Damn! The 1-inch by 1-inch Ziploc baggie containing white powder was found on a hallway floor near offices that deal with crime scene intel reports and processing. Also, they gotta say it's part of the, maybe evidence or something that fell. The hallway is on the second floor in the area that has been a staging spot for furniture and supplies. Say it ain't so. Coca. The area is heavily trafficked by various contractors and employees. The bag was found just 1 p.m. Wednesday by an officer and field tested positive for illegal drug. They're investigating. Oh, is that the real bag? That's a stock image, okay. Hunter? All right.
And as we keep an eye on that team of officers there that are starting their slow movement towards the encampment, that's the first person, a woman, that was there standing against the officers that were on that walkway being arrested here and walked over, 2 minutes out, thank you, being walked over to the command post that's been set up here by the sheriff.
Oh. Are they moving in on them? No.
So now one person, the first person that we've seen so far with this group being arrested, and the team of mostly made up of sheriff's department.
Are they pushing up on them?
Here, or deputies are starting their move in towards that encampment.
Separate, hold hands, unite. Uh-oh. Oh, maybe this county really doesn't play around.
And as we keep an eye on that team of officers there that are starting their slow movement towards the encampment, that's the first person, a woman, that was there standing against the officers that were on that walkway being arrested here and walked over, 2 minutes out, thank you, being walked over to the command post that's been set up here by the sheriff's department and other law enforcement.
Yeah, they're pushing up. Look, look, look. Ooh, but they're kind of taunting them too. With their cameras out. The only thing is, like, these people are just going to scatter to the sides, but they are pushing up on them. And then look, there's the blockade right there. Uh-oh. Meet me at the club. It's going down. Oh, he's running scattered.
Once again, thank you for joining us on the web. This is Gil Davis up in Sky 5. We're seeing movement by the law enforcement officers. 1 minute. Thank you.
Yes.
Here on the campus of UC Irvine. One arrest has been made already.
Mel, Nelk Boys have academics interview premiere now. No, they don't. I was going to say that's the worst timing possible, but actually it might work out in their benefit. They might even have more viewers because of it. I mean, they have a lot of views anyway, but maybe more than normal. Nelk Boys. I used to love watching their
left
their
a little
stuff.
bit, Jim. I think this
Really
is that
watching
woman
them
that they
well.
have back of the van.
Nelk Boys podcast. Wow.
Cool.
That's perfect. That's good. And we might have to move back.
Yeah, I wish KTLA could improve their signal. I don't know what that entails, because I noticed their feed cuts a lot all the time. I don't know if it's just as simple as the antenna changing it out, or is it like a whole infrastructure type of thing?
Well, Sandra and Sam, you're looking at the first person being arrested, a woman that was standing
Grandma.
in front of the skirmish line by the Orange County Sheriffs that were there on that walkway. And let me come out to a wider shot and show you those officers, those teams of officers have made their move slowly up towards the encampment here on the UCI campus. As I zoom in here, you see they've moved up into this position. There's still a lot of protesters here in front of them, and it looks like they're going to make their way towards that encampment that you see there in the center of the screen. That is right next to the physical science hall, but at least one person now being taken into custody after a dispersal order was issued and not obeyed. So at this point, we'll see what happens here with the remaining officers here in this walkway towards that quad area. You can see some of them.
Come on, man. Maybe I should just reset? I mean, refresh it?
And setting up in a different area. You see a group of people here, the protesters that are locked arm in arm around that makeshift.
The umbrellas is in case they shoot tear gas or whatever. It reflects.
Barrier right now, and then even more so around this side, if we can still see them. Yeah, they're right there in front of that makeshift fence. So quite a few protesters there, not moving, not complying with that order to disperse. But at this point, more and more officers streaming into the campus itself. You can see more officers here.
Oh yeah, they're lining up.
Near the encampment. So that's the latest overhead up in Sky 5. I'll send it back to you in the studio. Yeah, let me zoom in here, Sam, and show you. This is that physical science lecture hall, and now we did see when we arrived there were some students up onto that balcony there, that second floor. It looks like you can see someone with a well, I don't know if that's a flag there that's mounted there on the wall or not, but the encampment incorporates that building. You can see how the fence that they've set up here goes around that building, and students have been up and down these stairs that we've seen since, and it looks like it's blocked off there. Those steps are blocked off, so that might be where those students are hunkered down inside that portion.
Yeah, there might be a bunch of people inside of this building too holding it down. Frozen? I shouldn't be frozen. Nah, man. Look at me.
Not at all. In fact, that was the first arrest that we've seen here as the officers started to make their way up that walkway. They did take that woman into custody. They have her in a van that is there at the bottom of your screen. They loaded her into this van here, and we're processing her for arrest. So at this point, just that one arrest and no sign of violence so far.
They need to bring those buses. Like last time, bring the bus loads.
Thank you. We can slide back over. Thank you.
This. Wow. Oh, shoot. Very hot, but good. Damn.
Well, thank you once again for joining us on the web. This is Gil Davis up in Sky 5 along with my pilot Jim Pollard. We are looking at the UC Irvine campus and a pro-Palestinian demonstration encampment underway here on the campus. You can see a large group of students and protesters that are lining the outside walls of that encampment that they have set up here in this quad area next to the physical science lecture hall. Now, just minutes ago, we saw the first person being arrested. On the web. This is Gil Davis up in Sky 5 along with my pilot Jim Pollard. We are looking at the UC Irvine campus and a pro-Palestinian demonstration encampment underway here on the campus. You can see a large group of students and protesters to this police van, and now we're seeing more officers being deployed into the campus itself.
I wish they would show their faces, such clowns.
Officers from the California Highway Patrol, Orange County Sheriffs, and
you know what? Let me try this. This other one.
Irvine, Newport.
This one, I don't know. This one doesn't look like it's cutting out. I'll try this one. The same one, but
police van, and they have issued a dispersal order.
No, dispersal order. There you go.
At least so far, one person that has been taken into custody, placed into this police van, and now we're seeing more officers being deployed into the campus itself. Officers from the California Highway Patrol, Orange County Sheriffs, and Irvine, Newport police departments, and others on scene here. 2 law enforcement helicopters overhead, one from the Sheriff's Department, one from the California Highway Patrol, keeping an eye on the situation here. But again, a group of officers there, looks like at least 100, if not more, that have established themselves in the parking lot and on that walkway towards the encampment. Now the protesters are able to disperse and exit out the north side of the campus in this direction towards this center area where this large green area has been set up here, or is set up there in between the buildings, I should say. But at this point, we're not seeing a whole lot of those demonstrators leaving.
They're definitely not leaving on their own. The situation still doesn't look as crazy as the last one. So if they can, it's better that they end this shit now before it grows and grows and grows. Oh, IBC7's there. Thank you, Queen. See? Oh, nice. I love it. For now, I mean, this is kind of interesting, though. I want to see what's going to happen there. Wow. Bringing in more cops.
Minute away. No. Yep.
Mamma mia. I think KTLA might be leaving. Amazing. What happened? So weird. Oh yeah, they froze.
Irvine, you can see
There we
what
go.
it remains of that encampment. You can see most of the protesters have crossed over the barricades and have now gathered near that building on the right side of your screen right there. Upwards of 150 protesters now being encountered by upwards of 100 law enforcement officers from across Orange County as they slowly inch their way up that walkway towards the quad where they are preparing to move in on this unlawful assembly. Reporting live from Air 7 HD, I'm Chris Christie, ABC 7 Eyewitness News. You got it.
Check the website. The campus. See if they have any other updates. All classes are canceled for today. Staff are advised to work remotely for tomorrow. Please continue to avoid the protest area. Damn. Must be a nightmare for those people that got to work there and stuff. But I guess the real nightmare is what's going on overseas, really. All right, let me see. Oh, no updates from the official website besides the tweet they just did. Oh, look. Oh, they're pushing back, guys. If you're not looking at the screen right now, it's the time to check it out a bit. I mean, so far... I mean, let's see what happens when they get to the nitty-gritty. Oh, but right now, see, these people are... Their backs against their their fencing that they put here, which leads to that building that they blocked off and I think supposedly taken over as well. Maybe they need some more cops, I don't know. Frozen? Oh, they ended it? What happened? What's going on? Oh. I'll try to refresh this. Why would they stop right now? Alright, I have to take this one off the screen now. I guess ABC left. How many people do we have? Ooh, is he climbing? Or what the hell is that? Oh. Fox 11 is back. Okay, we're juggling streams. Oh, they're pushing up. They're pushing. Let's go. Oh, Fox 11 is live.
Israel. They're very frustrated by this particular incident, which has animated folks in a way that other incidents in the Middle East or other parts of the world have not animated students in some time. Is Matthew Seedorf, is he ready? Can you, can't hear us yet, so we'll get him. Okay, I guess you are.
I can hear you.
Okay. You just got there. Take it away. What are you seeing from your perspective?
Yeah, just the massive amount of police here is noticeable. You can see different jurisdictions. This is Orange County Sheriffs. We also saw Irvine police here. And as we're looking over now at the science building where the students have appeared to take it over and are refusing to leave. Now, this happened today when the camp-in demonstrators kind of made their camp bigger this afternoon, and with that they kind of took over this building, and that's when the law enforcement was brought in. And if you can see, Joab, these protesters over here on the front line with the barricades, they've got umbrellas, their arms are linked together, they're wearing gas masks and have helmets on. They're prepared to face off with law enforcement like they are right now, and right now we're just kind of in a standoff, not knowing what's going to happen next.
Well, obviously they are organized. When you have goggles and helmets, you are organized. They have been there for a bit there with those tent encampments we've been seeing. As long as the UCLA encampment was there, obviously we are now just upon this one because of the police presence here. You know, are these all students? Yes, we sir. Never know. We do know that the organizers of such protests are sometimes from the outside, because that is what they do. They coordinate their protests. They are organized into how to handle law enforcement and their demands and the encampment when it comes to bringing in water or allowing for bathrooms or even their security, which, Matthew, you experienced the, quote, security from protesters where they kind of police themselves.
Took over the building.
Are you seeing that here as well at UC Irvine?
Yeah, no, it's been different at Irvine. I was at Irvine about 10 days ago, and they were a little more welcoming to the media. They weren't getting as much attention then. It was right after UCLA had just wrapped up, and they still wouldn't let us in their encampment, but they were willing to actually speak with us and have dialogue, unlike kind of what we were seeing at UCLA. But this is remarkable just how close we're able to get right now. With these demonstrators just squaring off with their umbrellas as their arms are linked. And the camp is much bigger than it was when I was here just a week ago, I will say that.
Which might say that perhaps some of the organized protesters called in more people to show up. Obviously, those are not at UCLA anymore. That might have been spread out at different campuses across Southern California. They could now go to this one here, for example. Are you getting a sense, Matthew, from what you're seeing today? Does it feel like organized protesters? Does it feel like all students? What is your sense there?
It's a different vibe than what I saw when I was here, I believe it was about 10 days ago. And at that time, I was under the impression that most of them were students. Now it was a Saturday afternoon. And another noticeable difference, at least from what I've been seeing on this campus compared to UCLA, and I do see some graffiti, but compared to UCLA, they were using spray paint over on that campus. And here, it looks like they're using chalk and have signs hanging, but you don't see as much, at least from what I've been able to see so far today, spray paint. It's a little bit different. Here, Joab, I don't want to get in the way of law enforcement, but can you see what they're showing over here? This the barricades up to the stairwell where those students are. So there's basically two levels of barricades between the Orange County Sheriff's Office here and then those students up on the staircase who are also taking pictures. And this building that they've supposedly taken over right now.
And that's part of the issue, Matthew, right? I mean, it's one thing, be out on the lawn and sit in your tent and, make your statements. It's another thing to try to take over a building, which is impeding, the college experience that all these folks have paid a whole lot of money for.
That is the college experience.
And taxpayers have paid a whole lot of money for. And it's a different thing, which may be why we are seeing the law enforcement move in, this attempt to take over territory of an actual building.
That's right, and you can see it looks like they have a folding table, a cooler, and just kind of have thrown it all over the stairwell over here, trying to prevent police or whoever from, gaining access to them. And like we saw at UCLA, that probably won't matter at the end of the day, but they're trying their best to, prolong it at least, members of law enforcement, from putting them in handcuffs. But it appears that the sheriff's office is preparing for something. You can see them kind of talking over with each other. And if you want to swing up,
he's reinforcing it in front of the cops.
So I don't know if this is one of the demonstrators from the campaign or not.
Yeah, Matthew,
but he seems to be outside of the main.
Something wrong with his ass too. He's
he is one of the demonstrators that has been
like a zombie.
Commands there. We are continuing to follow this here at UC Irvine. Yet another pro-Palestinian protest, and police there on scene.
I wonder if these guys think they're going to get laid or something.
The top of the hour. We want to officially welcome you to the Fox 11 News at 5 on Fox 11 on
I don't know, like,
Channel 13.
Are they hoping for cool points and shit?
Also streaming live on the Fox local app.
Protest points.
FoxLA.com/live. We have continuous coverage right now of breaking news. I'm Alex Michelson with Christine Devine, Matthew Seedorf on the ground there.
We're back again at it.
This is the campus of UCI. Which has had pro-Palestinian protests for weeks, but now those protesters have tried to move in and take over the physical sciences building. That has prompted law enforcement to say,
pushing up again a little bit.
We're moving in to stop this thing. Matthew Seedorf on the ground with the latest. Matthew.
Push him up.
Right now it looks like police are moving in ever so methodically, but also slowly pushing in, moving their line closer. Looks like some members of police hold what look like are paintball guns.
Nice,
and,
Wilson.
batons.
Thank you. Okay.
And
thank you,
this line of demonstrators that we're looking at right now, we can see this member of.
Apparently, from what I'm hearing, Wilson's people, ABC is keeping 2 choppers till midnight. Oh shit. Okay, but they don't have choppers right now, right? Are they on rotation? It was a little bit of a rough start. Sorry, guys. And I'm still kind of like, oh, ABC's live right now. Damn, which one do I want to watch? Let's check out ABC as well. I'm still like I'm done moving. The boxes are just unpacked, but like there's still so much going on behind that's like, it's, so I'm kind of a little bit,
Barricading the building. The university put out a call for mutual aid, and that is what triggered this giant response from law enforcement here at UC Irvine. Protesters swarmed the campus.
They blocked off and barricaded this building, some science physical building. I pulled up the map, some type of science physical. They barricaded the shit. And cops, I think they're being a little bit more aggressive than the other campus in California. But they're taking it easy as well. And these people, the thing is, they said it's just gotten progressively worse. You can't let these. I mean, I don't know. I guess there's a certain level of like what's okay, but it's only going to keep curating
windows kind of looking into the
Look at that.
encampment
Damn.
as to what is taking place
Those are the
out
normal
here.
people.
That shelter in place is ongoing, so people are asked to stay where they are just to be safe as law enforcement kind of just handles the situation. But as you can see, a very, very tense situation here on the UCI campus as law enforcement basically moves in as close as possible to these protesters who have barricaded themselves here outside of the physical science lecture hall here at UCI, and that's what triggered this massive response here at UCI. So far, we haven't seen no arrests besides protesters getting very close to law enforcement, yelling things like "Free Palestine" and "Shame on UCI." Of course, we will keep an eye on this, but as of right now, you see this clear divide between protesters who are linked arm in arm and law enforcement agencies who are basically moving in because right now this is an unlawful assembly, and they're going to do what it takes to make sure these people are removed from campus.
Yeah,
Dave from UC Irvine, David Gonzalez,
That's the guy right there that set up the new barricade.
David, really quickly, have you seen any acts of violence,
Elias.
any scuffles, anything like that breaking out either within or among the protesters or against police?
I have not seen anything like that. The most tense moments that we experienced was when we first got onto the scene. There was a formation of law enforcement, as you see, in their helmets, in their gear, and they were gathering in the parking lots. But once they formed a decent formation where they felt safe to move in, that is when things started to escalate, because you had the protesters who were very close to them. You had some agitators who were getting in their faces, and they were being pushed back. These officers had their batons out. But from what I've witnessed, I have not seen no one arrested. But we have these law enforcement right now just moving in closer and closer, inching closer and closer to these protesters. So right now we're on the backside of these law enforcement officers, because we were in the middle, and I can tell you there was no space between us, the protesters, and the law enforcement. So for us, it was just best to be on this side of the police line and just kind of watch it from the backside as these officers move in.
Yeah, and also I noticed what appeared to be, with regard to the equipment that they're carrying, I see zip ties there on that sheriff's deputy. And also to the left, I thought I saw a uniformed police officer with what appeared to be tear gas canisters or something like that. Did you see that? Can you speak to what sort of equipment they're carrying?
Yes, you have everything that you've seen at different protests, like at UC Irvine. You have the tactical gear, you have the helmets, you have the batons. We have seen those tear gas guns, or those guns that deploy, kind of pellet guns. But I think the big issue today was those kind of protesters that you see on the second floor of this building. They basically barricaded or ran into this building and took it over, and that's what triggered this mutual aid. So once that took place, law enforcement here on the ground, Orange County Sheriff's Department, and also authorities here on campus ruled that this was an unlawful assembly, and from there, this is where the response from officers has moved in. But as you can see, we're seeing right now, from what I could tell, more and more the officers are just inching closer and closer to these protesters. Little by little. I think it's imminent before they decide to try to do something. But I do see those guns that you mentioned, that tear gas canisters. But some of these protesters are equipped with helmets, goggles, and also those tear gas masks, those N95s. So I think they're ready to kind of face these officers head on.
And David, how are the officers communicating with the protesters? Has there been a loudspeaker with a dispersal order? Are they trying to, persuade the protesters to leave? Have you seen how they are interacting in that place?
The only thing that I've noticed when it comes to that kind of messaging from law enforcement to authorities is that first line of officers, when we got to the scene, they had their batons facing the protesters, and they were yelling things like, "Please disperse, this is an unlawful assembly," and they would inch closer. They would stop,
turn it down,
make sure that they were all in formation again. They would inch closer and again yell, "Please disperse, this is an unlawful formation." But as you can see right now on your screen, these officers are removing barricades. They're starting to pull stuff away from these protesters. But from what I can tell, the protesters on the other side of law enforcement, they aren't budging. They're holding their ground as they yell things like "Free Palestine" and, of course, "Shame on UCI." But Right now, the big issue is we don't know what's taking place inside of this physical science lecture hall. They barricaded the windows. They kind of have taken over that whole area. So, of course, law enforcement will have to move into that building to secure it.
When we saw a similar situation play out at UCLA, we saw the protesters sort of cross their legs on the ground. They were, holding on to each other. Is that what we're seeing? I don't see anyone on the ground sort of, making a determination that they don't plan to move.
There's no one on the ground, wait 1 second. Sorry, I thought police was addressing us for a second to move back. But right now, from what I can tell, we have these umbrellas from law enforcement kind of just in the faces of these law enforcement officers. And that's as far as I've seen as far as protesters engaging with law enforcement.
That's the same guy right there.
Arm in arm on the ground, anything like that. When you got closer to the
barricade trying to reinforce the
today,
gates.
you did have this kind of human wall of protesters linked arm in arm. But from where I'm standing right now, I cannot see that. The protesters have kind of put barricades now in between them and law enforcement officers, but you could see this giant canopy that is used as a canopy normally. Now it's kind of formed a shield between law enforcement and these protesters, so we cannot see what's taking place on the other side. But in front of that canopy, I can tell you there's students, protesters wearing masks, goggles, helmets, holding umbrellas in the faces of law enforcement.
All right, we are going to watch this develop. We want you to stay on scene, David. We thank you for your reporting there. Air 7 HD is also overhead. We will go back to this scene at UC Irvine when required, but I think we're going to move on to other things. We have updates, of course, on here on ABC 7 and with the ABC 7 Los Angeles app.
A grim search in an Antelope Valley.
We got Fox though. Oh, okay.
But that is not a situation. Several hundred people inside a building, and that could make this a long evening potentially.
Alex, I wondered about that if there were protesters inside, because when we first went on the air at 3:30, look, there were 10 protesters outside, and a huge show of law enforcement. So perhaps there are people right now inside that building. Obviously, that's going to be a game changer. So, Tim, why don't you weigh in on that? Do you know anything about that? Are there people occupying a building inside?
Yes, that's very correct, and they determined that by the amount of people that went in at the beginning when the help call went out. And as you see, they're trying to block the view of the officers. Officers are just pulling those canopies away, but they've blocked the stairway going up to the upper level of that science building. So right now, you have more officers than you need. And I've said that before many times. You go with more equipment, more personnel, more things to handle a situation, because it's always better to have too much than not enough. And in this situation here, they will clean out this outside and then work their way up to that hall. Now, it all depends on how tough these protesters want to be, or how badly they want to stay there and resist these officers. But I'm going to tell you, just from personal experience, you said that they've had the ability to see it happen at UCLA. These officers deal with 4th of July every year, and every year Huntington Beach, Newport, and the coast area, we have a big influx of outside folks coming in, and as the night goes on, alcohol takes over, and the problems start. So there's a big problem every 4th of July down here, and the police departments are well trained, well versed on crowd control and crowd handling. So they'll have their skirmish lineup, and then very reactive arrest teams behind pulling the troublemakers out. But normally in a situation like this, from my personal time working the different crowds and the crowd control down here, there's a lot of folks there. Once everything starts up, they're going to leave. They're going to get out of there. They want no part of it. But you always have those antagonists in the crowd who are throwing things, getting people to fire up, getting people to do things for them. These officers are not going to put up with that, and this is going to be over very quickly. And as far as getting into that building, I guarantee you they already have squads and platoons set up to go into that building very quickly and take charge of it and remove those folks out of that building.
When we think of 4th of July in Surf City, USA, the biggest celebration of 4th of July west of the Mississippi, most of that is done outdoors. It's not done indoors, and can you talk about the complications of moving into a building, of having a bunch of students ready inside a building, and as compared to doing this outside?
Well, it's the confinement part of it, the ability to make access to get into rooms, things of that sort, to where you have them barricading in rooms. You have to get through those barricades. As they had at Columbia, you see now they're starting to make the move. The officers are starting to move forward.
Santa Ana Police, Costa Mesa Police. Matthew Seedorf, what are you seeing from your perspective?
Yeah, it looks like police are moving forward, and we just heard a lot of the protesters just start screaming at police. There seems to be some pushing back right now, as looks like members of law enforcement and a protester. One person's getting arrested right now, right in front of our camera.
There we go.
Let's see.
So again, when it comes to the organized protesters,
oh, there he is, that kid. We just saw that kid.
We were simply trying to prevent them from entering, and they pulled some of our protesters in, and you can see them now that we are being taken away.
Did you take over a building?
We recently did claim the hub right there today.
How many people are inside the building right now?
No idea.
No idea. Are you a student here?
I am a student here.
And what are you getting arrested for?
No idea.
All right, you heard that. It sounds like there are some people in the building as he's walking away with zip ties. And so far, that's the only arrest that we've seen take place where we are. Looks like there's one more coming out right now as they are starting to arrest people.
and again, we should note these people are willing to be arrested, to stand up for what they believe is their cause. Are you seeing any crowd dispersal, like people peeling back, Matthew? Go ahead.
Nothing, I was standing there.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So he says that nothing happened, that he was just standing there as we're starting to see them come out one by one with their hands behind their back.
It's a badge of honor.
Put in zip ties here.
It is interesting to hear their perspective, to hear from some of these folks.
Protesting genocide.
Arrested for protesting genocide. Are you a student here?
Protesting the genocide. I am a student.
And why do you feel so passionate to get arrested today?
Because 40,000 people have been murdered in Gaza. There are showing no signs of stopping, and our university has invested into BlackRock and Blackstone, which are investment funds that actively fund weapons manufacturing that kill millions, which will kill millions of people in Gaza. The genocide is still continuing.
Have you heard from UCI staff leadership about, what you guys are wanting?
Yes, we've met with them several times, and they have suspended several of our students. They have halted negotiations with us by suspending our students.
So today you guys expanded the encampment. What was that a move for? Looks like she's getting pulled away right now. But it sounds like a couple of students were suspended, and today they expanded their camp in and apparently have taken over a building. There are students inside the physical sciences lecture hall right now as police are moving in.
So if you're just joining us at 5:15 on this Wednesday afternoon, Alex Michelson, Christine Devine, Matthew Seedorf with you. UC Irvine police from all over Orange County have convened on the campus. We are told by UC Irvine that there are hundreds of students who have currently occupied that physical sciences building. We have not gotten a good look inside there, but it was enough people to warrant this large-scale police response to eventually move to clear that building and get those students out of there. We have seen this encampment begun to be broken up. We have seen some arrests begin on the ground, but it seems like the most of the work is still ahead of law enforcement. They're trying to get people away from that building first so they have the ability to move into it in force and get people out of there.
We see the building in the background.
NYC
There's a
also has
stairwell
protests?
that goes up to that upper level there. And earlier when we were on at 3:30, we showed you that blockage there. There was at least some kind of big cooler that was there. Other stuff, at least 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 steps up where you could not climb up those stairs. As we see those canopies there now really giving a blocked perspective for law enforcement there who has been breaking them down. We've seen at least 2 or 3 people taken into custody there with those zip ties. And Matthew, to have these students speak to you is giving you perspective as to what's going on there. You didn't always get people talking to you at UCLA.
Yeah, it seems like they are a little more media friendly here at Irvine compared to UCLA as they're getting arrested. The woman we're looking at right now has the helmet on with her hands behind her back. And just, I'm amazed, if you look over the police right now, all of the tents that the protesters have stacked up on top of themselves, trying to prevent police, at least trying to delay the inevitable here with apparently protesters inside this building. And they look like they're stacking more and more things up, and it kind of extends to our left, almost a wall, as they're trying to reinforce the barricade that police are tearing down right now.
And one has to imagine that there's more than one door into this building, too. So you wonder what's happening on the other potential entrances and exits to this building as well. We'll check in with you in a second, Matthew. Want to bring back into our conversation Tim Lynn, our police specialist who has spent years in law enforcement in Orange County. And now we're getting a higher view from our camera guy. That's an interesting perspective from our Justin O'Brien, who has just moved to this, basically to the top of that physical sciences building there. You see all of those tents that Matthew was just mentioning there that have now been stacked up to try to stop law enforcement from getting in. And a really interesting perspective from Justin. And I don't know if he can swing around the camera to the other direction and where we can see where you actually get into the building. Okay, there we go. And you see some of the folks there as we walk and see the rest of the campus. This is a great perspective from Justin as we see that encampment right there. And then you see the way in. And I wonder if it's possible, it looks like, are those chained? Yeah, so those doors there have been locked with cords, so it's impossible for Justin to get in. Obviously, the cops are going to have some scissors and be able to break that, but you wonder, you know, about that elevator there too as well, if that's a way to get in or if there are other ways in or out. We see another way to try to stop people there, so it's quite something. And just across the way, this is an amazing perspective of some of the other students nearby, who knows if they were part of classes or not, who are just there to watch all of this.
Why go to class? Well, I don't know. I feel like conflicted sometimes. Because I was gonna look at them. I was gonna say, why go to class when you can just trash around and whatever? It's your parents' money, or maybe it's paid for already. You know, tuitions, whatever.
Tim Lynn, we bring you back into our coverage, our police specialist. We just saw some of those students arrested. What happens to them next? What's the process?
Well, the process, they'll be taken back to the command post area where the arrest team and booking teams are meeting, and then the booking team will take over and then process them and more than likely put them in transportation for removal down to the reception center in downtown Santa Ana, where the Orange County Sheriffs have all their big facilities. So it's a very coordinated effort to where they have things set up to this is what we're going to do, and they do it at a pace to where they don't overwhelm the people in the back. But what you have here is you have officers standing at skirmish line, and if somebody does something silly like the guy said, I was preventing an officer from entering the camp, well, as soon as you put your hands on, you're going to be pulled into the group of officers.
Wow, New York is lit right now.
Standing there. Basically, they're already in violation of law of failure to disperse. They've been given dispersal orders, and by not leaving the area, they've already committed a crime. So that's what they're being arrested for now. They're right now, the officers, you see, they're just meticulously working their way along, removing those barriers. They'll clear off that stairway that your photog is standing at the top of, and work their way up, and that cord's wrapped around a door are not going to hold.
Yeah.
And you were asking the question about the other doors or the other entrances. I guarantee you there are squads that are set up on different areas of that building to make a movement in. And once again, with the Orange County officers, we all were on the same frequency, so we can all talk to each other. There's multiple frequencies they can assign for different sectors, so communication's key. and to make everything happen all at once. So right now you just see them clearing out these easy ups to get them out of the way.
So they're done with that whole thing that we were just watching. So we're looking at this from multiple perspectives. Our photographer Joab Perez is on the ground.
Who's paying for all this? All these tents and shit. Hundreds of tents.
Those stairs there, getting a more of an aerial view.
And then they just toss it like it didn't cost them anything.
His voice from Sky Fox on the weekends, on the ground with the camera today, showcasing what is happening there. I'd be interested as well if we can at some point listen into Justin's camera to listen to what some of the students there are saying to him who are trying to move him out. I wonder what they think about his presence of being up there. But it's an amazing perspective.
Well,
as they move in.
Here's what I'm thinking with Justin's camera that you see there. You see
Justin. There's a better shot of Justin.
Yeah, you see the barricades at the bottom of the stairs on both sides. You see that the door was locked with cords. Justin giving us an incredible perspective.
Justin in the reddish pink shirt there that we're seeing. So we're seeing the two different perspectives here of what's happening for our excellent Fox 11 photogs on the ground there.
So look there, police there, right there now. They've made their way to the stairs right there. They got through those canopies that were set up. We were talking about that cooler being one of the things used to be a barricade right there. Looks like police will easily make their way through these steps here. My question is, though, I wonder if Justin can let our staff know that, does he feel like there are people?
It's barely even it's barely a deterrence. He literally used like some type of butter knife to cut the shit off and make his way through. I had read somewhere that there's some type of, I don't know if I was scrolling Twitter. I said there's some type of bail funding. So these people get arrested, they just get bailed out through some, I don't know what institution is doing it. But then all these supplies and stuff, who's supplying all this shit? All these tents and coolers and masks and garb and all this stuff.
In fact, hundreds of people there who are, waiting for this. And look, we know all these kids all have a phone. And I'm sure many of them are watching, if not our live stream, watching other live streams as well.
Giant mousetrap.
And so maybe we can listen in a little bit too.
No, I can't get there. Need a key.
Are they going inside a building, inside a room? Hard
Donate
to tell
to test
there.
the homeless.
Yeah, we saw that elevator, which didn't look like
Rainbow
it was
Six.
locked earlier
Classic.
when Justin was walking around. And I wonder if that elevator is open, if they're able to get into that.
You got to think law enforcement's at the bottom of the elevator too.
Right. But is the elevator just getting you up those stairs? Is it like an ADA elevator, or does the elevator also take you down into the building? I haven't been. Unlike
look,
UCLA
somebody at the top of the stairs.
I've not spent a whole lot of time on the UCI campus. So this is Justin now telling the law enforcement there that he's media. Let's see if we can listen
why are you there?
and just know that it is possible there may be some expletives here in this sort of situation, but it gives you a sense of what's happening in real time.
They got the big cop there too, in case there's any trouble. Tackle these people, siege right through. Okay, look, what did they use rope? Let's see. This is so interesting how
Can I film me going in?
they should tie it from the inside to make it harder or something. I don't know. Or maybe they did both.
Can I film me going in?
They tied it on the outside. These guys can just cut it.
I want to document you being inside there because we understand there's people inside.
Oh, they don't want you.
Okay, so this is Justin interacting with the law enforcement. We appreciate his hard work out there trying to give us pictures.
Should I get the exclusive shot?
That is the UC police that's right in front. They're the ones
I don't think they want them
technically
recording.
have jurisdiction over all of this, trying to push back our cameras as he's trying to showcase
the college
their
cops have a
operations,
jurisdiction?
them wearing their body cameras and having a looks like a respectful
I guess their
conversation
campus, but like,
here. And
bitch,
some
we
thumbs
came and
up,
take over. Now we had to
trying
help you.
get in perspective and show you what's happening
All right, I guess.
here.
So
let's bring.
You heard Justin say we're trying to see if there are people inside. That's the big question to me, Alex. As you saw there, the door is barricaded with cords, wrapped with cords. Yeah, quite a scene there.
Yeah, I mean, when we first came on the air, 45 minutes ago, there wasn't that big a crowd there. It seems like that crowd has started to gather as more and more people, hear about what's happening here, see this on the news, see the stuff on social media, probably text their friends, and that is becoming a bigger crowd, which is also challenging for law enforcement on the ground as well.
Well, let me ask Tim Lynn, we'll bring you in, our police expert. When you see a crowd like that, does that tell you that the area has been secured where law enforcement wants to go? These are people who are kind of on the outside of where law enforcement is doing their major work?
Yeah, it all depends on what their objective is right at this point. And it looks like their objective is to clear out that science building, and then they'll deal with the rest of the folks who are staying back behind their self-made barricades. So as you see, they're working really close to the media, basically getting Justin out of the way so he doesn't get caught in the stampede that may come out of there, or the officers coming in. And all these officers, if you're noticing, are wearing body-worn cameras. So the whole thing about having a camera around being the big, we don't want cameras around, that doesn't play anymore in 2024. Everybody has cameras nowadays. The police officers have cameras. So right now, I wouldn't doubt if they'll let Justin slide in behind them, because they put him in a position where he's out of the way, not in the operation. And now they're going to start working their way in. They've also, more than likely, are working to breach the building from the other side. The way that you hear that screaming, yelling going on, because nothing was happening where we're looking. You heard all that reaction. Could have been from something on the other side. But UCPD is taking the lead on this, backed up by the allied agencies.
Well, there you have law enforcement. It looks like they're able to make their way inside the building.
When you can, please. Thank you.
University of California. Police.
Obviously, they're able to make their way, it appears, inside the building. We saw that there were protesters on that level who took off, perhaps down that elevator there. They did not want to stand the ground there and be arrested, but who knows if they went downstairs. Are there protesters occupying the inside of the building at lower level? Waiting to see the response here from police. Not a lot of movement or action from there right now. Makes me think that perhaps there's not a big crowd if they were able to open that door and get inside. Because look at the body language, Alex.
Indeed. So the question is, what is on the other side of that?
Put it down! Put it down!
Well, he just ran off.
Well, he got out of there pretty fast.
Most of those kids, that's what they're going to do.
When it starts
to run off, scattered.
But right now, what they're probably doing, I don't know the inside of this building, but it more likely has maybe a mezzanine in there, and they're going to clear the high ground. So if you come in underneath them, you don't want people throwing things down on you. So you want to secure the high ground in that building, and then go in and take whatever is left on the ground. So, yeah, they're just doing it very methodically, and I guarantee you this thing's going to be wrapped up before the 10 o'clock.
And also about securing the high ground. You had protesters up there with their flags and their protest signs on that upper level, and they were blocking both entrances of the stairs. You saw the one still blocked on the other side, another protester trying to throw something on to continue to build up that blockage there. Yeah. But Tim, tell me what you see with the body language here.
They're very relaxed. They're just going through this very methodically. They're okay, we've got this area secure. We've worked our way up. We're now going to go in. And like I said, if there's a mezzanine in there, they'll clear that mezzanine out. And now, they may not need to clear that walkway going down that way. Then they'll just keep working it there. Now they're going to hold the high ground and let the officers from the other entrances work their way in and start making their way into the ground level of this building. So like I said, I don't know what the layout of the inside of this building is, but if it's most large lecture halls, it's going to have that mezzanine, then a lower bowl area, and then the stage. So it's just a matter of them getting in there. The UCPD know the layout of this building by heart because they're always in there, every day during their patrol and foot patrol through the campus. And so their main objective right now is to get this building clear. Then once they have them outside, then they can start moving the rest of these folks off campus.
The time is now 5:30. You're watching the Fox 11 News at 5. I'm Alex Michelson.
And I'm Christine Devine. Thank you for being with us as we watch police move in on yet another campus protest. We saw it at USC and UCLA. Now this is UC Irvine. Quite a crowd gathered there from our Fox 11 camera, giving you this perspective where police made their way to the second floor of the science building, We were told that there were students or protesters inside. They went in here, cut those cords that were chained around the door to lock it. Apparently, by their body language, they didn't see much from that perspective, Alex, so we're not quite sure what's going on inside the building.
Or are they waiting for more reinforcements to get up there and to move in there in greater force so that they all go in there together and feel more protected? If there really are hundreds of students in that building, which is what UC Irvine tweeted out, they saw at 2:30 this afternoon. You know, that's a real challenge for law enforcement, and for them to move in on all these folks, they need to move in pretty big numbers. So you wonder, in terms of the other doors to this building, what's happening in those places, in terms of securing the rest of it, and will they, you know, amass even more law enforcement and move in together? As we look on the campus there, some of those are activists. Most of those seem to be students, but also some looky-loos that may just be interested in what's happening. Matthew Seedorf, our Fox 11 reporter, is right in the middle of all of that. Matthew, how are things changing from your perspective?
Yeah, it looks like there's more people showing up, and I'm trying to figure out if the encampment kind of goes on that direction and we're just seeing more onlookers come, or if these are actually demonstrators themselves. I just spoke with an Irvine police officer off camera, and he said that on a typical day for the last 2 weeks or so, there's only been about 50 or 60 demonstrators here, kind of in the middle of the quad. And like I've been saying, they expanded today, and in that expansion is when they kind of took over this building. And it looks like there's way more than 50 or 60 people here today. And right now a lot of them are face to face with law enforcement, saying that peaceful protest is what they're saying right this second.
Well, a game changer when you have a call for help from police, and that's what apparently started this afternoon, this call for help, which according to Tim Lynn, our expert...
I guess this is considered private property too, the campuses. Got another angle here. DTLA, I think, is flying away right now, but NBC, Fox. I wish we could see inside that building.
But Matthew, we'll go back to you there on the ground. Tell us what you're feeling, what you're seeing there, as we have the two shots from the ground and that second floor of that science building. Now police there on that second floor.
You can almost feel the nervous anticipation in the air right now. I mean, the law enforcement face to face with the demonstrators. A lot of the demonstrators had their cell phones out. They're chanting peaceful protest. They're saying that they're not going. We see one person holding up a peace sign right now. But you have to think that law enforcement is about to move in. We saw them just grabbing zip ties, and here they go. They're going right now. Ooh. And the demonstrators are also pulling back their fence with police moving in, almost like they were prepared for that. And now it looks like they're a little bit of skirmishing over the barricades themselves.
And as we've seen before, there are those students and protesters who are willing to be arrested. They keep themselves at the front of the line there, or in the center of where the protest movement is. And you wonder if there are others who are saying, I do not want to be arrested, and they will back off as police make more of their move. Matthew?
Looks like they are starting to arrest people. I just saw one person come out. They're putting zip ties on them right now, not too far ahead of us. And they are ripping apart this camp. Police are moving in right now. They're moving in quickly and starting to put people in zip ties and ripping up the camp. We've got some more police over here. Yeah, you can hear the protesters right now chanting peaceful protest as the police are moving in and starting to make these arrests. Let's see what this gentleman has to say. Excuse me, what happened?
I don't know. I was standing there and they pulled me into the cop crowd. I was just in the front of the line.
Do you have family in Palestine or no? Are you a member of UC Irvine?
Yes, I am.
And you're
tell us who you are. I am a faculty member at the University of California.
Wow. And what brought you out here today?
I'm out here supporting my students who have the right to peacefully protest. And unlike the people who are escorting me right now, I think they're people. My students are not interested in violence. They're only interested in drawing attention to a genocide and these police officers decided to grab me, even though I wasn't doing anything or saying anything any different from anyone else.
Yeah, what do you have to say to the people in Gaza right now? What's going on?
To the people of Gaza, I say we are with you.
Professor, what do you teach?
You heard that.
All right.
A professor at UC Irvine
Professor,
getting arrested right
professor.
now. He didn't feel like it was right for the students here to be getting apprehended, so he was willing to get apprehended himself, and you can see him getting walked away right now with the zip ties about to be placed
Toss him in the bathroom or the closet, lock that shit up.
And we're seeing more and more
They'd
of
be
these
calling for the cops.
demonstrators getting arrested and getting walked out here right this second as police are pulling apart this camp. And she looks like she's talking to police. Excuse me, what happened?
They arrested me for a peaceful protest.
Please stay back, sir. Please stay back.
So she said that they arrested her for a peaceful protest. But we understand, too, like we've been saying, Alex and Christine, that some of these demonstrators took over a building today, and that's when police were called in. And it also sounds like it went from a 50 or 60 person a day protest for the last couple weeks to all of a sudden a couple hundred people showed up, and that's when this building was taken over.
And there's no doubt that in the time that we've been on the air,
until election time comes up,
number of people that have begun to gather outside of this building has gone up dramatically as law enforcement has moved in there. It
and then once the president's elected,
people there, even though they
wait to see this shit. This is nothing.
Unlawful assembly. The objective of that is to get people to move out. It seems to have done the opposite so far. But it is remarkable, Christine, to see not only students, but to see a faculty member from UC Irvine. It'd be interesting to know what class he teaches there, who are coming together to take up a cause that we have seen students around the country be animated by, the situation of what happens in Gaza and Israel's policy towards the folks there for whatever reason. This issue, more than what we're seeing in China or Iran or North Korea or anywhere else, has become a rallying issue in terms of human rights for folks that are on these college campuses, and we're seeing that around the country, including at UC Irvine, which is not traditionally thought of as a hotbed, Christine, of political activism. But we are seeing folks that clearly are animated by this issue and that are trying to have their say. They keep chanting peaceful protest, and from what we have seen, at least so far on camera, this protest has been overwhelmingly peaceful. What we don't know is what's happening inside that building, where UC Irvine says that there were hundreds of people gathered earlier. It's unclear what exactly is happening inside right now.
It's an intimidating scene just looking at this, where you have law enforcement and protesters in a standoff right there. We have not, when you had the professor who spoke there, we have seen other professors stand with these student protesters.
This is it now.
Go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah, this is as close as we can get right now, as they are, law enforcement is closing in on the circle. The circle's getting smaller where the camp-in was taking place. But you can see these protesters holding peace signs. One of them's on a megaphone right now talking to police. I can't exactly hear what he's saying right now. But you hear, you can see a lot of people holding up peace signs as law enforcement is making this camp-in a little bit smaller, but it also looks like there's just way more people here than what we saw even just an hour ago.
Well, we should note that perhaps the organized protest groups wanted to do a call to action today. Perhaps they, or somebody decided they wanted to escalate things from being just tense on campus for the many weeks that have been there to blocking a stairwell, to putting cords around a door to a building, either preventing a class from happening or people from coming in or out. And so obviously somebody decided today to escalate things, to escalate the protest, to take a greater stand.
Right.
And so when you hear the professor say peaceful protest, it's a different thing when you use cords to lock a door or even occupy a building, which we're not sure. We're heard.
And that's the difference between a peaceful protest protected by the First Amendment and a crime. You are not allowed to zip tie a building and lock people inside. You are not allowed to take over a campus and stop people from getting an education that they've worked hard to get into that school and are paying good money to achieve. That is where you start getting into criminal behavior, which is why
I guess that was the main problem. I mean, like they said, the last couple of days, it was like a smaller group gathering around protesting, but then today it escalated, and then apparently they took over a building and barricaded it. I don't know how many people are inside, but it was the campus that dubbed it a violent protest, you know, so I don't know. I'm kind of still waiting to see. I don't know if something happened inside the building or even just taking over a building. Maybe that's considered violent itself.
That is a problem, and it is something that at least the administration at UCI said we are not going to tolerate, and you know, and so we're seeing these displays like putting a rose out. This is, you know, an example of trying to showcase that this is a peaceful protest, and that aspect is a peaceful protest. But to your point, Christine, not every aspect of this has been legal so far.
So, Tim, I wanted to bring you into the conversation when you heard the professor there say he's standing with the students in peaceful protest. In your opinion, when do things change from a campus allowing tents for several weeks and for students to have the right for free speech and to protest to what we're seeing now here?
Well, when they made entry into the building and took over property, like Alec was saying, caused it to where other students couldn't, you know, go for their freedom of education, to be able to freely move through the area. They started taking over the property. They were asked to leave. They refused to leave. A dispersal order was given, and now this is no longer a protest. You can call it, like, say we're protesters, we're this, we're just standing here. They are all in violation of California Penal Code right now, and the officers are giving them the opportunity to leave on their own. They've given them a path to get out of there. It's up to them to leave now. The officers are only going to stay with us for so long before the command starts telling them to move ahead. And if you're still there, you are subject to arrest. There is no longer a protest going on now. So they're all in violation of the failure to disperse, and it's an unlawful assembly. So no matter what they say when they come out or what their opinion is when they come out, they're going to face the music as far as not following the directions of law enforcement. And I feel bad for a professor who's out there doing this, because hopefully a professor is a little more able to recognize the consequences for your action. If that's what he wants to do, go right ahead. And I sure hope, as I said with UCLA, and they started doing it, if you want to do this, disrupt our campus, then you're no longer invited to our campus, and let you go find your education someplace else.
Yeah, that's a reminder when he's talking about the penal code, when an unlawful assembly is declared, which is what has been declared here, if you stay there, you are in violation of the law. So these folks that are saying, I didn't do anything, when an unlawful assembly has been declared and you choose not to leave, when you're repeatedly told that you have to leave, you are, in that instance, breaking the law. And so that is the choice they're making, to make a statement. But for the protesters that are acting surprised, who are saying, I didn't do anything, that is in fact not true. There could be a controversy on whether this should be an unlawful assembly, but based off of what reports are of what's happening inside, that certainly sounds problematic. And our photographer, Justin O'Brien, who is upstairs and giving us a good perspective of things, told us that he was not allowed inside by law enforcement, saying that it was not safe in there for him to go in there. So we don't have eyes on what exactly that looks like, but we do know that law enforcement at this point doesn't want to allow us to get eyes on what exactly it looks like. The time now, 5:45. We thank you for watching the Fox 11 News at 5. If you're just joining us, I'm Alex Michelson.
Here with Christine Devine. We have crews there on the scene bringing you both of these shots here from the second story of this building that had been barricaded, and from the ground here where police are making arrests and moving in here, and you can see they're breaking up those encampment pallets right there. We have seen this, as I've mentioned, on several campuses across the country. It escalated today at UC Irvine with the blocking of a building. Alex, we may not hear from the university tonight, We didn't from UCLA the night police went in. We didn't hear from them that night, really.
They were certainly criticized for that fact, but that is true, yes.
And then also, will police hold a news conference tonight to give us more information, or does this play out throughout the evening? Obviously, Tim, you can come in and weigh in on this. You mentioned that police are allowing protesters to leave. There is a path to exit for those who want to. They aren't really moving in to push back or break up this crowd here.
Yeah, they kind of slowed down.
Yeah, that's part of the requirements of an unlawful assembly. You have to give a path of escape, and you have to tell them which way to go, that they can leave the area on their own. So that you have to fulfill that requirement of that penal code section. Now, we don't know what's going on inside the building. We don't know what other operation is happening now on a different part of the campus. So these officers are waiting for something else to go on we are not privy to. So they're just not standing there waiting just to see if they leave. They're waiting for an operation probably inside that building to be completed. And once they get that problem solved, then they'll solve the less aggressive problem that they have of people just standing around. Their main focus is more than likely on the inside of that building. And so from what we can see on TV and what we're able to bring to the audience is this standstill here out in the quad area outside that physical science building. But what we don't know what's going on inside.
Yeah, well, we're getting a little bit of insight from what's happening inside. We just got word that the auditorium inside is cleared. That doesn't mean the rest of the building is, but the auditorium is. We also are just getting word from Orange County District Attorney Todd Spitzer. I've been highlighting the fact that Todd Spitzer, a former Republican Assembly member who is way more conservative when it comes to criminal justice issues than George Gascon, who was very progressive in Los Angeles County, just put out a statement about what's happening here. He says that the OCDA's office is continuing to work with law enforcement to monitor all protest-related activity in Orange County, including today's protest at the UCI. The right to peaceful assembly is a constitutional right, and we encourage protesters to exercise their right to peaceful assembly. However, the DA says, criminal activity which transcends peaceful assembly, including violence and vandalism of any kind, will not be tolerated. Any evidence of criminal activity, including failure to obey lawful orders to disperse, which has already been issued, will be investigated and thoroughly reviewed to determine whether there is sufficient evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that a crime was committed. So that coming from OCDA Todd Spitzer.
I'm wondering if the university is allowing the crowd there in peaceful protest there on the campus grounds, but because the building was of concern, they're dealing with that right now, as Tim has alluded to as well. UC Irvine has put out the tweets that you talked about earlier, Alex. For one, all classes are canceled for today. Staff are advised to work remotely for tomorrow. And they're telling people to avoid the protest area. Also, they put out word that what happened earlier today around 2:30, there you see the gesture at peace. What happened today at 2:30, a group of several hundred protesters entered the physical sciences lecture hall on the campus and began surrounding the building. So that is what kind of ignited the situation here, brought it to a different level here with law enforcement coming out. The university tweeting that they put out a call for mutual aid, and they see here you have this result of different agencies showing up there. But again, the university is saying protesters swarmed the campus and began surrounding the building, and several hundred entered the physical sciences lecture hall. So the question now is anybody still inside, or did that just prompt the police call and a change in things there, the temperature there on campus?
Are those all the folks that are now outside? Because we've seen that crowd grow outside. It'd be really interesting to be inside with law enforcement right now. They are not allowing us to do that at the moment out of fear for the safety of our own photographers. Matthew Seedorf, we saw that performance from the protester there who just put out flowers to try to make a statement there. What are you seeing and hearing from some of the folks on the ground?
Yeah, we're looking towards Roland Hall right now, and as you're saying, I mean, I don't know if these demonstrators came out of that building or not, but we have it seems like there's way more here than there were just an hour or two, maybe even less ago. But right now we're just seeing these demonstrators on a megaphone kind of instigating police a little bit as police are, looks like, just kind of in standby mode waiting for their next move. We've probably counted about a dozen or so people arrested so far, but it looks like on the other end of this police line where we're looking right now, I would estimate there's at least 100. It's hard to tell. And then if you can look in the building, there are people inside this building looking out the window, looks like with their phones and stuff, kind of looking at this crowd as well.
Well, also, you know, if I'm wanting to go check this out for whatever my reasons are, I'm not seeing police really push in. It's not perhaps as scary as it might feel if police were really taking a lot of strong action. Sometimes you see much more dispersal when that happens. So right now it's light out still. Perhaps there are students or members of the community who want to come just be looky-loos or show their presence, be a presence. But if police were to start moving much more assertively, they might push back. Matthew, did you experience that as things escalated with law enforcement? Did you notice more dispersal in some of the other protests you covered?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I think that for the most part, it looks like these protesters are kind of staying put. I think the area that we're in right now really wasn't part of the encampment. If it was, maybe it was just kind of rushly put together today, because if you look, it's a lot of tables and chairs that I think came from the nearby dining facility, and not like those barricades that we've been seeing on the other part of the camp-in. So this feels like almost like a different group or an outside group that may be a part of this protest now, and maybe they came in today for the reason of growing this encampment.
An interesting note, we just read the statement from Todd Spitzer, the Republican district attorney, who's pretty conservative when it comes to some of these criminal justice issues. A very different view from the mayor of Irvine, who is a Democrat, named Farah Khan. And she put out a response to UC Irvine saying it's a shame that the peaceful free speech protests are always responded to with violence. Taking space on campus or in a building is not a threat to anyone. UCI leadership must do everything they can to avoid creating a violent scenario here. These are your students with zero weapons. So very different perspective from her than from the DA, who just talked about the idea of criminal action, of taking a building and of not listening to law enforcement. It sounds like you may have something to say on that one, Tim Lynn. The difference of perspective there from two very important leaders in Orange County.
Well, I know you hear me chuckling in the background at the different statements, but Miss Mayor would have a completely different point of view if they took over her city hall. So I take what she says with a grain of salt, and she has to, as all politicians, they have to pander to their base, and they're going to say things that that's what their base wants to hear, not necessarily what is common sense. And the common sense here is you cannot occupy a campus. You cannot prevent other people from going to classes. And once you've been told it's an unlawful assembly, you must leave. And the people who are just coming in, as they were talking about, the looky-loos just wanting to come in and see what's going on, they're continuously giving that announcement. And as you come in later in the game, you hear the announcement as well. So that's one of the elements of the crime, is that the announcements were given at these times, and that this person was on campus or in the area at this time, and most reasonably could have heard the announcement and given the opportunity to leave. So as far as politicians following into this, once politicians get involved, you have a situation like you had at UCLA. So let the experts handle this, let the experts go in. Once you've called a mutual aid like this, of this magnitude through Orange County, you have given that to the police departments, to the agencies to go in and finish this problem, clear this out. Because I guarantee you, there are police chiefs talking to each other now on this to watch what's going on. If it starts going into a stalemate, they're losing money with these officers being there. And they're going to start evaluating the use of their officers at this scene. And they are have the ability to call their officers back and tell them to depart the area and return to their cities. So they'll give them as much help as they can, but if it turns into a stalemate, they'll start winding this thing down, because the different cities don't want to pay for to stand around and just look at each other for hours on end like we had at the UCLA. They want to get this thing finished, take it over, clean everything out, and then start over. But, peaceful protests, they did it for 50 days. Obviously, it was going a protest for 50 days. Everything was fine. But when you break into buildings, when you take over areas, you restrict people, then that's when it crosses the line, and that's when it becomes an unlawful assembly.
Let me just note the importance of this day to Palestinians, and forgive me for having a lot of knowledge on this. I'm going to kind of quote Reuters here. This is the anniversary of the 1948 Nakba, or catastrophe, marking the time when hundreds of thousands were dispossessed from their homes in the war at the birth of the state of Israel. The Nakba was a defining experience for Palestinians for more than 75 years. So perhaps part of this greater escalation here of an encampment that's been in place for several weeks is tied to that important moment in time for Palestinians, as this group here is raising more awareness of the current fighting between Hamas and Israel in Gaza. So we've seen the protest before for several weeks, but today, obviously, a day that stands out in the minds of Palestinians, the 1948 Nakba.
So another tweet just coming out seconds ago from UC Irvine, saying that anyone currently in buildings in the vicinity of the protests are advised to exit buildings and leave the area at this time. Please disregard all previous orders to shelter in place. If able, please leave immediately and continue to avoid the protest area until further notice. So apparently, previously they told people stay there. Now they're saying get out of there as quickly as you can. And it'll be interesting to see if anybody listens to that.
Well, given that,
they were listening to us. They were listening to us. You were listening to us. We're saying, there's people up in that window there. There's people over here. Yeah, shelter in place is the first thing you do to keep people out of the problem that is right now. And now that things have calmed down just a bit, hey, now leave. We want you off the campus. We want to close the campus. And so now they're just protecting the students who are not involved in this. And if a student that makes a bad decision to go down and just kind of check things out and get something for their social media post. But once the shelter in place was lifted, just get off campus and clean those buildings out. So obviously they're watching the news feeds like we are and listening to us talk about those people in the windows. So that'd be the next move. Get everybody off campus that wants to get off campus and isn't following directions of shelter in place, but will follow directions now to leave the campus. And hopefully the more the reasonable folks will turn around and leave the campus at this point and let the officers do their thing for the people who don't want to leave.
All right, Tim Lynn, thank you for that. As we approach the top of the hour, if you're watching us right now on Channel 13 and want to continue coverage, we encourage you to flip over to Channel 11, where our coverage will continue at the top of the hour. Also encourage you to keep joining us if you're joining us online at foxla.com or the Fox local app. So with that, we say thank you for joining us for the Fox 11 News at 5 o'clock. The Fox 11 News at 6 starts now with breaking news. Welcome to the Fox 11 News at 6 o'clock. I'm Alex Michelson.
I'm Christine Devine. I'm going to stick around with you here, Alex, with this breaking news here. This is normally the 6 o'clock news with Marla Tejas, who's off tonight. You're watching the protests develop here at UC Irvine, develop in the fact that law enforcement is there on the ground. It's been this scene here for a while now where you see police in place there and that large crowd there, that tent city there to the right. The big concern, though, was the science building that had been barricaded. The entrance to it had been barricaded and the doors locked with cords. Right. The UCI had put out a call that 100 students had entered the building. We're not sure, Alex, at this hour if there's anybody inside.
So all of this, if you're just joining us at the top of this hour, we have seen that protest on the UCI campus for weeks now. That has been relatively peaceful and frankly not all that big. But it did escalate today with those students entering and refusing to leave that building. The building you're looking at there, we're looking at some of the video from earlier now, including the large law enforcement presence, with UC Irvine saying that there were hundreds of students inside that building, barricading themselves inside. That's the reason that we're seeing this large presence here. We have already seen several students arrested. We do have some video of some of the arrests from earlier that were happening live on our air during the 5 o'clock hour. Now we are looking, this is some of those arrests from earlier. This was one of the students that was being arrested. Our Matthew Seedorf is there on the ground. He has been talking to some of the students, including that woman there who was talking about her reason for being there, her frustration with Israel's policy towards Gaza, and hoping that UC Irvine would divest from groups like BlackRock, companies like BlackRock, who she says are investing in Israel's war efforts. So this is some of the video from earlier. We want to also bring you back out there live. Matthew Seedorf is our reporter on the ground. He's been doing a great job over the last hour talking to some of those students and giving us a sense of what it feels like to be there. Matthew starts us off at the top of the 6 o'clock hour now with more coverage. Matthew.
Well, Alex, we just saw another wave of police officers move in as they're preparing to make more arrests. Right now, you can see the demonstrators inside also seem to be getting prepared, making a almost human shield, you could say. All the tents and all the barriers around the encampment have now been pulled away by law enforcement, and now they're just kind of standing in the middle there in circles, kind of in lines, waiting to see what happens next as police seem to be moving in more and more by the numbers right now. They just made us move back a little bit as we were expecting more arrests momentarily. But really, this situation escalated this afternoon when additional protesters arrived on campus and apparently have taken over a building. We're not exactly positive which building they're in right now, but we are seeing these police that were called in. And I do want to point this out, if Joab can show you, instead of kind of what we were seeing at UCLA with the spray paint, I think this is interesting that a lot of the graffiti out here is just in chalk. So a little bit of a different vibe per se, and then perhaps is why this campaign has lasted the better part of 2 weeks at this point, as it was continuing on until today. I'll go ahead and send it back to you.
Well, I'm noting again a piece of history here. This day is significant to the Palestinians. May 15th is the Nakba Day. Okay, go ahead, Matthew, take it over.
Yeah, the police are moving in right now. They won't let us get closer, but you can see the protesters pushing back as the police start moving in. There's a lot of yelling, and I do hear some pops to our left, but I think it
sounded like
looks
somebody
like they're
threw
moving
something.
some of the barricade and tables. And
yeah, it sounded like somebody threw it. Looked like somebody threw some sort of glass bottle that we heard maybe break at one point towards the officers. It looked like somebody from the protesters threw that. And now we're seeing this officer there break up some of this, and they're going to continue to move forward.
Pulled someone out there.
Wow, okay.
Pulled someone
and
out.
we could see more arrests.
So over to our right, Joab, if you want to point over here, someone's on the ground getting arrested as we speak, as members of law enforcement are ripping apart this barricade. Shouting match also taking place between the protesters and members of law enforcement. Someone just got thrown on the ground.
All right, Matthew, as we continue to watch the movement here in your picture, we're going to bring in Jim Hemmold, who, Jim, thank you again for joining us, retired from the LA County Sheriff's Department, where you oversaw command of situations like this and were on the ground yourself as an officer during the Rodney King riots, so we take you back in time. You're seeing police here escalate their action. What does that tell you?
Well, you notice that the skirmish lines are going in very systematically, very methodically. They wanted to first make sure all of the resources were in place so you could give dispersal paths, safe escape routes, essentially for those who do not want to be involved in the unlawful assembly. So they were taking every precaution to make sure those were established. They were present just in case something emergent or urgent occurred.
What the hell's that, the reporter?
Did a good job of being
Jim, give me a second here.
to prevent any.
Are you a professor here?
I'm a grad student and a proud union member with UAW 4811.
Have you been camping out here the last 15 days or so?
No, sir, but we've been out here to support our students, our faculty, and our community members.
What made you come in today?
When free speech is under attack, it's the God-given constitutional duty of every American to stand up and say no. That's why we have a Constitution. That's why we have a Bill of Rights.
You felt like it was important to show that demonstration by getting arrested yourself?
Oh. Yes, sir.
Why is that?
We have nothing if we don't have solidarity.
Anything else you want to say before you get taken away?
No, sir. Free Palestine. God bless.
Does free speech include taking over a building?
Oh, shit! But it's Nakba Day, so
for a future.
Other reporter kept saying.
Police should be protecting people and not property. This didn't need to happen.
There were reports that the demonstrators took over the building.
I honestly can't tell you anything about that. I'm not sure. I don't know about that. I wasn't present for that.
Okay.
I wish we could have seen inside.
So as you see, they are making arrests. We're going to stay with your picture here, Matthew, as you are bringing us the arrests that have been happening. And now we take you to that wider shot from our camera that is overhead, kind of giving you a perspective here. So we're seeing more pushing here, and law enforcement, they're breaking up that encampment.
I wonder if they do fire those people,
taking
or do they just
more
get
and more
back to work?
pieces away. But you see them grab a student or grab a protester and pull them out of the crowd there. And sometimes those may be an instigator or somebody willing to be arrested. As we watch this right there, that man had his hands up and went into custody there. But sometimes if bottles are being thrown or things being thrown at officers, they look for that person who is doing that and get them out of that crowd. Jim Hemmel, do you want to weigh in here for a second, knowing we might have to cut away from you?
Yes, of course. And just as you mentioned, oftentimes there are agitators who try to ignite a crowd. We've seen that in many peaceful demonstrations, which have escalated in pockets. So taking those precautions to address those instigators and have a place to take them out, usually have contact teams in addition to the skirmish lines to make sure that you don't break the progress that you've already made as far as dispersing the crowd. So this is by the book that they're doing, and at this point, it looks like they're taking every precaution to make sure that it's a safe conclusion to this, and we'll see how
we're going to go back to Matthew Seedorf now.
We don't care about each other. Our people are humanitarians standing up for human rights. Community member.
Community member. What brought you out here today?
To stand up for human rights. It's an honor to be arrested for human rights.
So it's an honor to be arrested
for human rights.
Did you come out here to get arrested?
If students did not stand up, if protesters did not stand up, willing to get arrested, willing to risk their careers, women would not have the right to vote.
Are you a student?
Society would not move forward.
Are you a student?
I'm a community member for the third time.
Okay, where are you from?
That's all I want to say.
We heard that people took over a building.
That's all I want to say. I'm here as a community member. I personally did not take over a building.
What do you think about that if they did take over a building?
I'm here to support humanitarians, right? These people are saying enough is enough. At some point, we stop following orders from psychopaths.
Is that still a peaceful protest when you take over a building?
Children bombed in 3 months in their beds. Children.
All right, so that is a community member.
You hear more about the protest, though, than actual
Irvine, that
what's
is
going
getting
on
arrested
out there
and felt like it was important for him to be out here and
what's going on out there?
Demonstrating as well.
Last
and
thing
it
I heard
seems
was
like
Rafa.
he was aware of people taking over a building, but really he didn't want to comment about that.
It is a reminder, though, hearing from that community member that there is a war going on between Israel and Hamas with a lot of innocent Palestinians caught up in this terrible war, because war is always terrible. You have people who truly believe that they are fighting or standing up here for, as he said, human rights. A lot of issues at play here for decades and decades in that region. But here you have students at UC Irvine and protesters who've, again, been camping out here with their tent city for weeks. And today, again, as I was saying, is an important day for Palestinians when it comes to their history. It's called Nakba Day, and it marks the start of the 1948 war, where a huge number of Palestinians felt they were displaced with the formation of Israel. And so today is a day that perhaps this campus or organizers wanted to bring a little more attention to the reason that they are there.
And of course, Jews feel like 1948 was the start of the state of Israel, the only Jewish state in the world, and that many Israeli politicians, with the exception of the current prime minister, have been in favor of a two-state solution over the years, which has not been embraced by various leaders from Palestine in several different negotiation attempts over the years. But we're not going to solve Mideast peace here on the 6 o'clock news tonight. We're going to talk to you about what's happening out there on the campus. And Jim,
I guess they're talking about the current person, Netanyahu, but I don't know. I guess he's not. Is he in support of two-state? I guess not, because people feel like he's wiping them out. Well, they're just trying to get rid of everything, Hamas. But I'm definitely not the one to really speak on that. I mean, I've watched several documentaries. This was months ago, like deep dove a little bit, but I mean, I have seen the multiple times they try to negotiate, and multiple times it's always turned down, always some shit. I remember there was a really good documentary on the Oslo Accords and Bill Clinton. That shit was dope. I never knew Bill Clinton did that. Anytime I ever thought about Bill Clinton, I always thought about Monica Lewinsky. That's it. That's the only reason I liked him, is because of that shit. I mean, when I was younger, I was younger and I voted a certain way until I got a little bit older and had a kid. That's what was appealing to me. Oh, he got a blowjob. Then I got a little bit older and things changed a little bit, but I didn't know he did this whole. That shit was. I forgot. It was like an NBC documentary or something. He really, 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 really freaking tried, man. I think this is Arafat. His death is kind of questionable, but yeah.
Some of the students that were in place there running.
Well, that's the thing. How would it? I don't know. How would a two-state work? I mean, you can, but then like when they say two-state, does that mean you have to let them in? Like. I mean, you don't want to keep them in, but you don't want to just let people in either if they want you dead, and there's going to be like terroristic attacks. I mean, even Egypt don't want them there, right? It's Egypt. I mean, there's a border there too. I don't know what other borders there are. Really complicated.
We are watching here more arrests happening, as you can see right there on the screen. What happened there is the protesters started moving their barricades and kind of.
Bill ruined so many small businesses. Another story. Well, Bill too. That whole Haiti shit was bull. What they did, right? Bill and Hillary.
To me, Jim, you can weigh in on this. The law enforcement was saying, no, you're not going to set up more barricade right in front of us. We are moving things out. We are breaking this up. You're not going to set it up right in front of us here.
Failed
that's
promise.
When you saw the crowd,
the Clintons,
or the police there.
Where'd all that money go?
Move their skirmish line, move their line even
tighter. Look at Haiti now too, right?
Yes, and these are the types of concerns that we have to address, because as you gain ground, you don't want to back up and then give it back. This is where you have to systematically make sure that you have sufficient resources to go ahead and disperse the crowd, and then when you see activities such as setting up new barricades or encampments, then one at a time you'll pull those down and take them out of the problem.
So we are seeing more and more students who are choosing in this instance to be arrested. They have been told for hours now, get out. If you don't get out, you will be arrested. This is an unlawful assembly, which was declared several hours ago. The definition of an unlawful assembly means that this is a danger to the public, and the order from law enforcement under California Penal Code is you need to leave immediately. And these folks have chosen to stay to get their message out. They're talking there to some of our colleagues in the media. This particular woman, you can see all of the different stations are now broadcasting this live. As we now are focused our attention at UC Irvine, which frankly hasn't gotten all that much attention, which often UC Irvine in the shadow of the UCLA and in the shadow of USC, which which frankly gets way more media attention. UC Irvine, an extraordinary school in Orange County, doesn't often get the headlines as much, has not been known as a place of extraordinary political activism over the years, but tonight is getting the spotlight from not only reporters here in Southern California, but likely also getting attention around the country as part of this larger story of campuses being engulfed with a certain number of protesters and the varied approaches of administrators and law enforcement across the country in responding to this. There have been very, very, very different responses based off of who is running the administration at a school and what their campus PD or local PD have deemed as acceptable. At UC Irvine, they have allowed this encampment to go on for weeks as it has been relatively small and peaceful. Today, it seems that when protesters decided to take over a building, put up locks, prevent people from entering, that was when this went from a peaceful protest to a criminal activity, and they decided to call in law enforcement from around Orange County to put an end to it.
And Alex, you had used the word zip ties, locking those doors.
Sure.
They were actually like electrical cords wrapped around the door so you couldn't enter or exit. Tim Lynn, you're still with us, one of our police experts as well. Your thought as we see the protesters here, as we're looking also on that second floor right now that seems to be safe and secure, where we saw that door with the electrical cords, that's not only a safety hazard for every student, but every student who wants to come into the classroom can now not come in. These steps were barricaded. They can't go up the steps. And we
find a fire hazard.
I mean,
if there were a fire in that building, then all of a sudden you can't get out the doors.
But for any student not feeling welcome to go in the building, we've also talked about, Alex, how Jewish students feel about some of these protests.
Right, and the feeling of unwelcome and the feeling of anti-Semitism that we've seen on different campuses. We don't have reports of that specifically from UC Irvine, so we don't want to make allegations, but Matthew Seedorf is on the ground.
And
Matthew.
Then we'll go to Tim. Yeah, Matthew.
Building more barricades?
We're trying to make our way through what's left of the barricade on this side and go to where the students are still lined up. They've really been reinforcing their encampment on the front end where police are, and on the back end is where we are right now. And a lot of students are watching, but if you kind of look, the back of this encampment is dismantled at this point. And we're going to go right up to where the front line is with police right on the other side. And when we were out here just 5 minutes ago, we saw police kind of sprint towards this line of protesters where we are right now. We are in the encampment, and a lot of the crowd sprinted away, whereas where we are right now, these are staying, and they're saying that they're not going to rest, they're going to stay.
So you're actually in the area where there were all these tents. You were there, you say, 10 days ago, and that was filled with tents, people camping out. That's exactly where you're at?
Yeah, we're in the middle of where the encampment was taking place right now, as the campers are face-to-face with law enforcement about to come in this direction.
I see right in front of you is the guy who earlier had a bunch of flowers that he was putting in front of the police. I don't know if you're able to talk to him and get his perspective.
Talk to the
He's
guy.
Right in front of you with the right there.
How are you? We're live on Fox 11 right now.
Hello, how's it going?
What brings you out here today? What's up? What's up?
Peacefully protest against the killing of innocent children in Palestine.
And what's the process like right now? We understand that.
Right now they're violently, aggressively arresting. They've arrested three students as of right now.
Are you a student here at UCI?
Yes. And right now, really, it's just we're trying to fight for our First Amendment. Our First Amendment is say that we want a free Palestine. We want say in where the money our school goes to.
I'm calling on the university to divest, and we've heard that there's been some negotiating back and forth, and so far no deal has been made. But did protesters take over a building today?
I'm not sure. I wasn't here to witness any of that. I'm not sure why today specifically they have thousands of cops, but they do, and they're being very aggressive. They're being very violent and aggressive, and they're pushing straight through this, and they're.
We're live on Fox 11 right now.
We are here with peaceful protest. We only want peace. Our demand is simple. Divest from the genocide funds in Israel. We do not want our money to go to Israel killing kids. We have innocent kids there. They're human beings. We can't let them just die.
More calls for divest. Have you heard anything from the university in close to it?
All they say is lie over lies, and they keep lying. They keep on lying. They do not want to listen to us. And when we try to negotiate with them, all they would do is joke on us, make fun of us.
So we're inside the encampment right now. Looks like you guys are fortifying your wall, trying to prevent police from getting in.
Correct, yes, the cops are trying to get in, and that's all we're trying to do. Just peaceful protest. We want them to listen to us. That's all we want. We're not here to hurt anybody. We're not here to harm anyone. We're only here freedom of speech. We just want to tell everyone that all we're doing is trying to protest in peace and have the genocide stop in Israel.
The mask, the goggles, are you prepared for arrest, or what were you preparing?
For anything. We're prepared for anything. Whether it comes from arrest, tear gas, we're ready to defend this country no matter what.
Now, are you all students here too?
I'm a student of high school.
High school student.
High school.
What about you? No? What brought you
You
out
want to
here?
say where you at? Why don't you take that mask off?
Well, we just want to make things right between our country and what we support. Let me tell you, let me ask you, if your family in Gaza, in Palestine, and they're being killed by the money you pay for university, are you going to stay silent? Are you going to sit and watch in your sofa at home? Any human being, we do not want Israelis
and why
to die.
keep
We
going
do not
there?
want Palestinians.
Why keep going there?
We don't want anyone to die. Anyone who has nothing to do with all those political games.
Quit the school,
we do
then.
not want them to die. Our demand is very simple. Any human logical being do not want anyone to die.
And now you guys are prepared to be arrested? Is that what's...
Why would they arrest us if we're doing something in this regards? We're trying to be free here with all the students and everyone. Why would they arrest us?
There's reports that protesters took over a building.
What building are they talking about?
We're still trying to figure out which building.
We saw you there earlier, 5 minutes ago.
No.
I don't see any protesters in the buildings right now, and we're only here to fight. We're only here to fight for our First Amendment, fight for the innocent children dying both in Palestine and Israel. Both of them, they're both.
I'm ready to die.
Israel is killing its own hostages. It's killing its own hostages in Palestine for the sake of power, for the sake of genocide. And
we said we don't know that.
Matthew, can you ask him about his decision to put flowers in front of police?
Yeah, excuse me. One more question. We saw you put flowers in front of police earlier. What was that decision?
This is a sign of peace. Sign of peace. We're here. I'm here to give peace. When I was standing in front of the police the entire time, I was smiling at them. I was asking them how their day was. I'm here for peace. I don't hate the police. I don't hate the police. I respect these officers for defending the city, for protecting my rights. But right now they're violating my rights, and I'm showing them that I'm here peacefully by the showcasing of flowers.
Right, that's all. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And Joab, I don't know if you can show, but the line of police, we are at the barricade on the camp inside, looking at all the police that are about to head this way. They've got their zip ties, and we've already seen, like we've said, I would estimate more than 24 people arrested at this point as the protesters keep trying to add to this barricade and try to prolong the inevitable as much as possible before law enforcement moves in.
So Matthew, you have interviewed and talked to several of the people who were arrested, along with those gentlemen there just minutes ago, and nobody you've talked to knows about people being inside the building. So what we can tell you is that the UC Irvine X account, Twitter account, around 2:30 said that a group of several hundred protesters entered the physical sciences lecture hall and began surrounding the building. Now, did they enter and leave? We don't know. Is there anybody still inside? No word of that at the moment. We do know they barricaded the stairwell on both sides, and they put electrical cords around the doors, sealing those doors, and they did not allow law enforcement up. Law enforcement had to go through and break through those barriers that look like that to get up this stairwell and check into the building.
And I just want to clarify something as well, that protester said that Israel is killing its own hostages. We do know of an instance where Israel accidentally killed some hostages as part of an operation. They admitted to that, and they expressed regret for that. We do not know of sort of widespread instances of Israel intentionally killing its hostages as some sort of conspiracy in terms of the actions there.
And Alex, noting there are still hostages being held in this war, which ignited this whole conflict.
And there are a lot of Israelis that are watching this that are saying, why aren't we more? Okay, so this is our first look inside the building.
Oh, here we go.
I presume this is from our photographer, Justin O'Brien. So this is an auditorium in there, and it looks like, is this a live picture or is this taped? This is a live picture. So this is the first time that we've gotten inside this. This looks like, this is the physical sciences buildings. It looks like a chemistry table there. So that looks pretty empty and frankly pretty clean. That does not have the appearance of a bunch of people that have been taking this over or certainly messing it up. So that is interesting that we look at that periodic table of the elements there. You know, a reminder of your old science class or Breaking Bad, as Justin O'Brien, our photographer, walks around. And I don't know how much Justin can communicate with us. It'd be interesting to see if we know if there are any other students that we know of that are in that building. Certainly not in this particular classroom. That's been cleared, but in terms of the rest of that building, are we all clear at this point?
Well, we should note that UCI said they entered the building. And when police made their way in after cutting or untying those cords, they didn't have the body language of great concern.
Yeah, so that clearly was the second floor of that building, up where Justin was earlier. He was finally able to get inside. Those were doors that before had been tied up. So that's that particular room. I am personally not all that familiar with the makeup of the rest of that building. I would presume that that's not the only classroom in that building. So are other students in other parts of that building, or is it true that those students entered the building earlier, made their statement, and left?
I'm noticing
you know what? It would be nice to have
lot.
Some clarification from UCI if they know if any of their buildings are currently occupied, or was it that statement that there was a rush of protesters who entered the building, and then because they had barricaded the steps and locked the doors with the cords, that's the great concern there. But anyway, we have this call out here from law enforcement. So you see the protesters there kind of reinforcing their line in front of law enforcement with those umbrellas, as we've seen elsewhere. Police not really having it, and so I wonder if it'll be a matter of time before they move in towards these protesters as well, because you saw them putting up more umbrellas right in front of law enforcement.
So Tim Lynn is back with us on the phone. As well, maybe let's reset things for people that may be just tuning in as we approach the half-hour mark. I know some of our colleagues on some of the other stations may be going to national news now, and we're grateful for some folks that may just be joining us that are interested in local news coverage as we watch an unfolding situation at the University of California, Irvine campus. I'm Alex Michelson, Christine Devine along with me tonight. Marla Tejas is off tonight. You are watching the Fox 11 News at 6, and we are watching live coverage right now of a situation where a large group of law enforcement from various different agencies, including UC Police, CHP, and many different Orange County police jurisdictions have come together for a unified command to try to break up the encampment at UCI. We have not seen evidence of violence so far from the outside. There was a tweet that protesters, hundreds of them, had moved into that physical sciences building earlier today. We just saw at least one of the classrooms that was completely empty and frankly didn't look like there had been a lot of students inside. We don't know about the rest of that building. It does appear clear that the law enforcement that is there are done with this encampment and are moving to close it. We have seen several students stopped so far and arrested.
We should note that the way the university tweeted out this afternoon, they said several hundred protesters entered the building. Now, I think your mind, or my mind, goes to occupation of a building because we've seen that on other campuses where they have occupied a building. In fact, police had to climb through a window to break up one protest inside a building. We've not seen that here. We have no word that there are any students right now inside a building. We do see protesters taking their canopies right now to try to reinforce their line right in front of police. So I want to bring in Tim Lynn, who's been following this with us all afternoon, early evening here. What do you make of what you're seeing now, especially with the actions of law enforcement?
Well, right now they're in a stalemate where they're just staying back and waiting for the next shoe to drop. You see the protesters building that large barrier right there. That's not going to stand up too well to these officers as we've seen before. But like to reset this at 2:42, a call went out to all Orange County agencies on the emergency broadcast frequency that is in Orange County that they needed help at UCI. So a systematic response goes into place, well orchestrated and always already in policy for each department within the county to send officers to the scene. So that's why you see so many officers there, is because when that call goes out on that red channel, as they call it, they respond without asking questions. They're there, they're ready to go and get there. So where we're at right now is they're going to stand and hold this skirmish line. Those arrests you've seen have been people who had either agitated, got into an officer, did something that spurred that arrest team to come through the line and pull them through. Now, we saw the interior shots of that science hall. It's empty now, and you made a very good point. 100 has entered the building and not, we assumed they went ahead and occupied, but more than likely what happened is they tried to get them out. Things started getting out of hand. They called for help. Reinforcements came, and the folks that were in there decided to leave the facility and go back outside. So, right.
It is interesting what that one student said, because they're upset and they're saying that these colleges are funding these people overseas. And so the very same thing that they're upset about and protesting about, they're actually helping. They're actually a part of it. They're actually funding. Because of them, they're well funded. So that is the interesting thing about that. And if they're really about it, maybe they should quit the school and really affect the funding of the school. Stop paying for the rest of the semester. I mean, I don't know if these people are in their last semester, but
decisions aren't being made and resources are not being utilized in an economic way, they may start pulling their officers away. But I don't really think that's going to happen here. It's just a matter of they're doing everything systematically, very methodical, going to go in and start working their way through, because the last thing they want to do is get into a confrontation with these students, these protesters, these folks that are staying behind, because all that is fodder for the rest of the time to these protesters. The officers are always put into bad light when this happens, depending on what feed you see. And so right now they want to
community members, high school, what's some of that?
Can, but you will see some action sooner or later.
Well, so Tim Lynn, who of course is a law enforcement veteran, also a veteran of another TV station across the street, which I've done it in the past too, so I get it. So let's talk about what the strategy is from here, because we see all those cops there. I mean, they could just sort of make a move and say we're done with this, but they're choosing not to. What's the thinking behind that?
Well, it's the command staff who are in the background who are making the decisions that are to make the move or not. They're going off information from the campus administration. They're going off the information from whoever the leaders of this group are and giving them every opportunity to leave. Like I said, the continual announcement of a lawful assembly to give the folks a chance to leave the area. They also lifted the shelter in place, as we talked about earlier. Now, those people who were sheltering in place, as told, are now leaving, getting off campus. So they may be waiting for those folks to get out of the way and get off the campus so they're not mixed up in this. So it's just, everything is done very systematically with a command post, command staff talking with each other, talking with campus police, the University of California Police Department, which handles all 9 campuses in the state, are the ones who are in charge of this operation, and they're the ones who are making the final call to go ahead and move in and start working this campus out. But you see people carrying stuff away, and now the officers are moving ahead, starting to tear down that barrier here, as you see the shot from Skyfox. The officers working their way in, and that's what they'll do. They'll just clean all that out of the way, move their skirmish line forward, and then wait for the next command. So they were given the command to take down the barrier. That's what they're doing.
All right, so we are watching this line of encampment scene being torn down right now. Matthew Seedorf is on the ground. Matthew, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, we're on the side with the protesters as they are basically playing tug-of-war with tables and chairs and an umbrella against police. And really for the last 30 minutes or so, we've been seeing that more people are coming and adding to this barricade as now police are ripping it down. We see the protesters are holding up peace signs and trying to reinforce this barricade as police move in.
Well, of course, we want Matthew and crew to be safe as police are right there poised to move in if they need to. And you can see, as Matthew was saying, protesters reinforcing that line there. Matthew, that's the heart of the encampment right now, correct?
Yeah, this is it. And really, I mean, in some extent, the encampment has been dismantled. It's just kind of like a line of barriers with protesters on one end trying to confront the police department.
So,
I've got a question for Jim Hemmel. So, Jim, we'll bring you back in as well. Retired LASD, covered many scenes like this in your career, many. Enough to be a worthy spokesperson here. Let me ask you this. Do you see this ending tonight with this encampment completely torn down, done, over with?
You tell them. You think they're going to believe me? I'm Palestinian.
Well, the interesting thing is there's a lot of the protesters that we've spoken to on the scene appear to say that they're there for peaceful purposes, to speak their mind, and that's respected. But you'll also notice that a lot of them have essentially protective gear, face masks. They have to defeat oftentimes the law enforcement tactics such as gas or pepper balls and things of that nature. So it appears that they had no intention of leaving from the beginning. So when it comes to the barricades specifically, they keep assembling them as law enforcement gains ground. So there is some sort of coordination and organization even among the protesters. But what law enforcement's doing now from the command post is essentially containing the problem, isolating it to specific areas of the campus, all the while allowing bystanders to safely leave. So then when the final decision is made to completely end the situation, that it can be done peacefully and it can be done systematically with nominal casualty as far as injuries or further damage to the campus.
So we continue to look now at this picture from the ground, and you can see this sort of standoff between some of these protesters, some of them students, some of them not, essentially screaming and taunting, and some of them putting up peace signs to these officers. They're clearly frustrated that this demonstration is being broken up. They view it as a free speech exercise, and they think that their rights to free speech are being stopped, and they're frustrated by that. They are angry also about what's happening in terms of the actions of the Israeli government and what they view as an excessive bombing of the Gaza in response to what happened on October 7th. Matthew Seedorf, can you talk to us more about what you're seeing and what you're hearing from people on the ground?
Yeah, I mean, at this point we're on, emotions are very high, so we've heard some, hecklers, but they're also face to face with police right now and playing tug of war with tables and chairs that they dragged out here within the last few minutes. And I can say, we were out here covering this campaign about a week ago, and a lot of these people I definitely did not see. So it's a different vibe. It's changed. And we just interviewed a high schooler that was here demonstrating just a little while ago. So, but you can see tensions are high. A lot of people have their phones out with police, just kind of waiting to make their next move. But police do not have this surrounded by any means. We were just able to walk around the barricade and get into this encampment that's now been dismantled. So, I mean, essentially, if people wanted to leave, they could just walk the other direction and get out. But right now, they're just trying to face off with police, essentially, is what they're doing.
When you say it's a different scene from, say, 10 days ago, and you've covered UCLA as well with their protests, so you know what it feels like in different scenarios. UCI Irvine had tweeted out, X, this afternoon, that they were seeing a swarm of protesters, that there was, the building was being surrounded, the science building, with several hundred protesters. So clearly there was some kind of call to come out today to escalate things, to change their tactics from tents and camping in to barricading to stairways and to locking some doors with cords so people couldn't get in or out depending on your situation there. That room obviously empty now. But Matthew, so you're watching this scene now. Are you feeling that these people here that you're seeing, they're willing to be arrested? Is that what it looks like to you?
I think it's going to be a mix when it comes down to it. We've seen police kind of move quickly towards the demonstrators, and in that moment, some will stand and others will sprint, trying to avoid police. Police will grab a few of the demonstrators, arrest them, and then they have a new line set up, and then they kind of keep doing that, and they just will randomly all move in one unison motion towards the demonstrators, pull a few over, and then wait, and then do it again. And that's kind of what we've been seeing right here.
From the protesters' perspective, of course, protests are designed to be inconvenient for people. The whole point of protesting is to make people uncomfortable, to change their perspective. For these folks who say that they were not inside, they have been outside exercising their First Amendment rights on a college campus. Many of them feel like they haven't done anything wrong other than staying after an unlawful assembly was declared, which of course they were not a part of that decision. And so they're frustrated that they feel like they are being taken away having done nothing wrong. And they, at least everybody we talked to, say they were not a part of taking over this building that we're seeing in the top left corner, which is why some of them are very frustrated. So we're now seeing a different angle from another photographer that just arrived on the scene. And this is a look at that. And we're continuing to hear some of, let's listen to some of the chants.
Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine!
So those chants of Free Palestine continue as the police from various agencies all over Orange County stand by. We have seen them at times choose to move forward and keep those protesters moving back. It is unclear
it's 1996.
They're going to be out
can you
there
tell us what
tonight,
happened this afternoon? We heard that there was a demonstration here at 1:30, and then we saw what was happening.
I was teaching at 1:30. Okay. My class was interrupted by the helicopter noise, and then the monitor that I used to teach was overtaken by a message announcing that there had been a violent protest, and I couldn't teach any further because the university took over my classroom.
So, Hetty, he was taken away, but why was he placed in zip tie?
Never mind all this chaos and shit going outside. Allegedly, a building was taken over and all. No, the helicopters flying around interrupted the class.
Well as, the faculty member who was taken away. I think, again, this is an unlawful assembly, and they have remained here on campus because they had come to an agreement with university officials that, this was going to be peaceful. But I think it's different when things change, right? When they did take over a physical sciences lecture hall.
They're moving in.
You see them moving in. Yeah, they're moving in. We're watching this happen, and you can see that this is no longer a slow progression, but that was more of a forceful moving in of this police line. So I'm going to kind of inch in safely closer to what's happening here. And you can see, that sort of aggressive moving in was met with a lot of resistance. There are a whole bunch of supplies and wood pallets and barriers that are all just sort of scattered around. And yeah, as you mentioned, we're seeing these demonstrators pick up these barriers and try to, form a line, a barrier against the law enforcement line that is meeting them here. But there's a lot of supplies, there's a lot of things on the ground here that the demonstrators are using to try to pick up, and I wanted to hear what this person was saying over the loudspeaker. I think he said, hold the line. But this is certainly a coordinated effort. All of these law enforcement agencies have been in contact, and this was certainly, again, not something that happened overnight. They had been, as well as, we have been, watching this encampment, and, it can't stay here forever. And so when things changed, when there was a disruption of classes, again, this is according to university officials, that's when things had to change. That's when the University Police Department had to call in for that mutual aid request, and all of these law enforcement agencies responded in big numbers. So the goal here is to get this crowd to disperse. That order had been given since this afternoon, not just here on the ground, but also through the Orange County Sheriff's Department helicopter overhead. We heard the order to disperse. Yeah, they're moving in again, and we're hearing that over the loudspeaker. Stand by and then move in. That's what we're hearing. And then we're also hearing hold the line. So once they move in, there's another order to hold the line and then move in again. So, Carolyn, to answer your question, we're now pretty much on the other side of the encampment. So it is no longer, the encampment is no longer here.
They're going to take that canopy, that tent now, and take that right away from the protesters. So they're really now going to run out of barriers to put up at some point.
Yeah, it looks like they're just holding signs now. Right.
Yeah, they're going to run out of space too. This entire quad was, surrounded by the barricades, and there were, I would say, maybe a dozen of those canopies and tents. Anywhere from maybe like 40 to 60 demonstrators, each day, I would say, the days that we were here watching. But obviously, there's a lot more people here today. It's hard to say whether these people that we're seeing have been here for several weeks, or if they're students who obviously got that alert, while they were in the class, as we heard that professor describe, and then they came here, out of curiosity to find out what's going on, or perhaps join, the demonstration that has been going.
I agree. Before it gets dark, they're making good progress, but the later and later it gets, the more time you give them to form again and build more little lines of trash, get it over with.
The ready here in case things escalate and things become more aggressive. But there's several of these canopies that are now being taken apart a little more forcibly now.
Yeah, quickly, I would say, as soon as they put them up, the police are taking them away.
Okay, I'll let you document that. We're just getting word from UC Irvine. We reached out asking for a statement from the Chancellor, Chancellor Gilman, and we've been told that he will not be releasing a statement tonight.
Why not? Your school's burning down.
Leave, get ever so slightly closer, and then, like I said, though, you could leave but the police have this one line in and they keep pushing forward. So really, I mean, at this point, if people want...
So we're just getting word from you.
Seen as it's still light out, how does it change for law enforcement when it becomes dark?
Well, time's on our side in the sense that there's really no rush. We can bring in resources to light up the area. I don't see that as being a concern. I think it's going to be all predicated on safety or any nuances to that environment. So at the command post, they'll have a map of every ingress and egress route there. They'll sketch out where the most of the protesters are, and then any other people that could be impacted if they were to empty and exit the campus when they make the final push. They want to make sure that they're not exiting people onto small streets or local areas, commercial areas that would then also be disrupted. So these are a lot of considerations that need to be taken into place. It was interesting, Alex and Christine, you'd mentioned about the different response from various administrators, and you're so right on point on that, because in Los Angeles, and you can imagine, I can speak a little bit more being retired now, but you get, particularly the George Floyd protests, you had various responses from different city officials. And I can overwhelmingly tell you that those cities who took a more hands-off approach when the protests got more disobedient in nature, those cities were more impacted. And those cities that took the assertive action and essentially authorized a disruption or a dispersal of protests that escalated to thefts and rushing of stores, when that occurred and law enforcement action was taking place swiftly, that those areas had very, very nominal levels of further disruption. And we saw that with the Sheriff's Department in actually a couple large cities that essentially wanted to be hands-off even while looting was occurring. It caused widespread looting in different areas of those cities. I don't want to name particular cities. But
name some names.
It does happen. And then when law enforcement was taking more assertive action, then those were quelled quite peacefully.
Push it up again?
There is an old theory which we've talked about in the last few weeks in law enforcement called the broken windows theory, which goes back many years, and something that Bill Bratton talked about when he was LAPD chief and had worked in New York. This idea that if you see broken windows on a street, it's an emphasis that you're not dealing with the little things, which allows for crime and problems to fester, and that there's sending a message that things like that are okay. So deal with the problems in their infancy, send a message to people that crime is not tolerated, even the smallest amount of crime, and then you don't have some of these bigger problems that build. That is certainly one theory of law enforcement. We know there's some people that watching that aren't big fans of law enforcement and are going to watch this and think that this is an overuse of authority, that think that this is too much force being implemented, that these folks are just exercising their First Amendment rights. And there are other people that are watching that are wishing that law enforcement would move faster to get these folks out of there. And the law certainly says that taking over a building, which we'd love to hear more about what actually happened there, is certainly illegal. And we know that it is illegal to continue once an unlawful assembly has been declared. Whether you agree with that declaration or not, you don't really have the right in that situation to make that decision. You have to listen to what law enforcement says in that scenario or risk arrest. And there are plenty of people who have willfully chosen to be arrested to make a point about what they see as injustice, not only around the world, but what they see as injustice happening on the campus here. Obviously, this discussion evokes such strong reactions from so many different people.
I wanted to ask Jim a question, because you were command over what we saw with the protest, George Floyd protest. Chelsea Edwards on the scene there. How much of the direction comes from the school, the chancellor, or is it more law enforcement advising the chancellor, here's what's happening on the scene, we'll decide how we're going to move forward? I mean, what fine line do you walk there?
It is a fine line, and on campuses it is a little bit different because the administrators essentially can say, well, on this campus we want to respect the students' right to free speech. The pushback I think that law enforcement should have would be, do all students have that same access to public spaces? But I know during, you mentioned the George Floyd riots, I know the then sheriff, he was extremely assertive, and that proved very effective. In LA County Sheriff's areas, we had very, very minimal looting and what I would call rioting in those areas, because when it started to inflame, we would put down those riots through dispersal orders and then even taking agitators and placing them under arrest. And that calmed the overwhelmingly, most of the protesters were in fact there just to have their voices heard. So that's what we found. And so when it relates to a campus, I think that would also be up to an administrator to determine, okay, now you've disrupted a building, you've disrupted other students from accessing class. I mean, it sounds like they've already issued orders to cancel classes not only today but for tomorrow. So you could argue that they've already caused that disruption. You see the encampments, you see some littering going on, as well as blocking of access to certain buildings. We can see that right in front of us with the pictures. So that's where those decisions have to be made. But all the while...
all right, I think I'm going to call it. I will drop the link if you want to watch Fox. I got to be up early. And we're streaming tomorrow, too, in the morning. So if you want to watch the rest, you can go to Fox 11. I go take a shower, go lay down. I might watch this from bed. Listen to bed. I mean, eventually, it might just one day, too, if I'm streams like this, I might lay it back on the couch, but I think I need to call it. Hoax. No, we're not going. I'm the teacher. I was teaching my class. Yeah, I wonder if those teachers get in trouble. Like, do they get in actual trouble? Do they get fired or suspended or something? I don't know. Anyway, good night, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Love you. Fox 11 if you're trying to watch it on YouTube. All right. Adios. Good night.